Point with Tyler Head and Jack Veltri.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
Oh, 9 o'clock on your Wednesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head here in studio in Columbia on the Game. Jack Veltri joining us on location of the SEC Men's Basketball Tournament live out in Nashville as the Gamecocks get set to play coming up tonight around 9:30 as they take on the Oklahoma Sooners. We'll be lucky if that game actually does tip off then. Late night regardless, Jack, but how are we doing?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, it's a little different because it's 8 a.m. out here in Nashville. So, but Caroline put it best, my girlfriend, she put it best to me yesterday that we lost an hour over the weekend with spring forward. So technically, in a way, because I'm, going Central Time, I really haven't lost an hour because we already did with spring forward. So
you're,
I guess
you're living our time from last week, basically.
Pretty much. I was confused because I was walking back to my truck yesterday after practice at the tournament, yep. And she breaks it down for me, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then she breaks down a little bit more simpler. I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Okay." So essentially, yes, I'm currently living in the time that we were in before spring forward, I guess.
So it shouldn't be too hard to adapt to then.
No, yeah. It's been fine so far. It is going to be a long day though because
it's going to be a long day for you, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been to the SEC. This is my third time going, and both times I believe have been early games. So this is going to be. I'm not the type of person to stay up super late.
Right.
I know I'm going to have to tonight.
How was Nashville otherwise? Anything fun last night?
No, honestly, I've been to Nashville enough times now where it's like I just don't care to go out to Broadway. Mm-hmm. None of my buddies on the beat are really here. There's only, I think, 4 of us in total. It's one of the guys from the state. You got Whittle and then Phil Kornbluth. That's it. It's us 4. So, yeah, I'm not going out to Broadway this week. If anything, you will find me going out here and catching a movie, if anything. But besides that,
that's more your vibe.
Yeah, that's more my vibe. And honestly, man, I just don't really feel like going out to Nashville and just getting trashed like everyone does. Not my speed this week.
You're still in the first leg of your 2,000-mile journey for the week, so you got to reserve your energy.
Yeah, man, it's going to be such a long week. But, we're here, and the weather's been pretty good. I heard you say 88 degrees in the traffic report. I wish it was a little bit hotter here, but, overall, things are good.
Well, hopefully things go well tonight for South Carolina men's basketball, as regardless of what happens, we know Lamont Paris will be back, and Jeremiah Donati finally put out his statement last night, which we'll get into in just a moment, right after our Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up.
Time to get hyped. Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm, sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all 9s.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803-ALL-9s. We were on the air yesterday when we got the early confirmation. David Cloninger got insight specifically from the Athletics Association at about 10:30 yesterday morning that Lamont Paris was going to be coming back. Those reports continued to be confirmed throughout the day, and as expected, a lot of people are not happy about this. And as I said yesterday, I don't blame you. I'm not telling you have to be thrilled about this. I'm not telling you need to do cartwheels about it. I understand the frustration, but I guess because we've been preparing ourselves for this for weeks now, I don't have an emotional response to it because I've known it was going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at this point, all we can do is just tell you the facts of this. I'm not going to pick a side on how this should go down. I'll tell you what, the results haven't been good enough, and that needs to change drastically, whether you move on. Here's the thing. Whether you move on from LP or not, I think it doesn't really make a big difference. What does make a big difference is having the resources to go out here and win. It's clear that it's taken some time for South Carolina to really invest, and it stinks that it's coming in this way of they're just now investing because everyone else really invests a lot, it seems like, in their men's basketball programs, but it's taken a real low point for South Carolina to kind of get to that point. It should have happened. A bigger financial investment like this, whatever it's going to be, should have happened 2 years ago after South Carolina made the NCAA tournament. I'm just going to put it this way. Good programs would have found a way to capitalize off of that success. And it's no coincidence that South Carolina didn't, because you also go back to 2017, and this was before NIL, or so maybe you give them a little bit of a pass, different times. But 2017, after the Final Four, it took 7 years to make the NCAA tournament again. So this is a program that has a history of just not being able to be consistent in winning. And I think the expectation at this point right now, it should be getting to the tournament every year, but I think more realistically, it's having a decent season, and you try to make the tournament every few years. But with the financial investment, it needs to happen. And I think LP is a good coach. I think he is very basketball savvy, just a basketball junkie, it seems like, when you listen to his press conferences. But the results on the floor aren't good enough, and the fan base is not happy, and you're gonna have to win the fans back one way or another. But it's going to be an uphill battle, but it's good to see that a decision has been made now, as the tournament gets going, rather than, okay, is he going to get fired? Is he not? What are we doing here after the tournament ends? Like, that decision's already made.
And we wondered how Donati would respond to this, if it would be a press conference or a statement. We did get a statement put out last night. And again, he kind of says the things you expect him to say about their belief in Coach Paris. But more specifically, he says, to reach our goals, it will require an increased level of investment across the program that matches these expectations. We are committed to making these critical investments. Additionally, it requires an ongoing assessment and evaluation to ensure we're more moving forward and making the necessary improvements. So essentially, Jeremiah Donati, in meeting with all the people that write those big checks, was able to get them to say, yes, I will give you more money because you're selling me on the idea that if Lamont Paris has more resources, he can be more successful. Now, what that exact number figure is, we don't know, but we like to think it's going to be somewhere more competitive in the SEC, which, based on kind of the numbers we know as of right now, is probably in that $10-ish million range, because you've been operating at the bottom of the league for these past handful of years. And you had 1 year where it worked. And I can understand where you look at it and say, hey, it worked 1 year. We can keep operating like this. And Lamont Paris is a good enough coach where we won't have to pay top dollar and still be successful. Well, the other 2 seasons since then haven't worked out. So you have to step up the resources. And this is going to be a make or break year for Lamont Paris. There's no way to put that, where if he makes the NCAA tournament, there's no question that he's going to come back for more years after that. If you go 4-14 again, he's probably going to get fired. Where that line of acceptability in the middle is, I think, is the biggest question here.
Yeah, it's kind of like the discussion we're having about Shane Beamer to some extent right now of, okay, if you miss a bowl game again, what happens? And if you, because he's talked about playoff level expectations, and what if you fall short of that? It's kind of the same discussion here with LP for next season. I think it's pretty clear and obvious that if they don't make the tournament, he's definitely gone. One would think, right?
Yeah.
Unless South Carolina all of a sudden is just okay with accepting mediocrity, which I guess in some cases you could make the argument that they are right now. I think that's how some of the fan base probably feels right now.
Sure.
Is that South Carolina is accepting, poor play and, poor results. And I understand that. I do. But this is it's not like LP's just been awful his entire tenure here. Year one, you got to give him a pass because really, I mean, he's building this program kind of from the ground up at that point. Year two was great. I mean, he won SEC Coach of the Year. I don't think if year two didn't happen, like if it were just these other 3 years and that's it, the decision would be pretty simple. You move on from him.
If year two didn't happen, he wouldn't got the extension where the buyout would have been that much bigger.
Good point. Even if there was somehow an extension in there, like you'd still buy him out because the results have just simply not been good enough. But I think because he has, as that statement from Jeremiah does say, he has proven to have success before in his coaching career. It's not just the 1 year at South Carolina. It's getting to the tournament at Chattanooga and, being a assistant under Bo Ryan at Wisconsin. Like there's a good track record there that tells you LP is a good coach, but there's also a track record that tells you he's not getting the job done at South Carolina. So I think you kind of just have to meet at this middle ground of let's give him a little bit more money to work with and see what happens. I mean, I think that's essentially what this is that, okay, you're not going to pay his buyout right now, but you're going to pay otherwise what you probably would have paid the difference of in that buyout and give him that money to build a better roster. And I think the big thing here with building a roster, I know there's still a game tonight and they still got the season left to go, but the offseason's coming, man. And they have got to get guys that I know they got a lot of vets this year, but you got to get guys that aren't projects, guys that aren't development pieces. You need guys that are studs that can come in here and ball out right away. No question about it. That would make a massive difference.
We'll get into some of what Lamont Paris said to you guys last night at practice here in just a moment, but let's kind of play this game a little bit because as we mentioned a moment ago, if he makes the tournament next year, great, you've done exactly what you're supposed to do regardless if you get bounced in the first round or not, and I'd comfortably say he's coming back for another year. If you replicate the 4-14 record he had in conference play this year, he's probably gone. What if we're sitting here a year from now that you're once again at the SEC tournament, South Carolina went 8-10 in conference play, they're sitting in the first 4 out, and they go to Nashville and lose the first round matchup and don't make the NCAA tournament. What happens then? Because you would have doubled your win total again in conference play, but is that acceptable?
Doesn't matter. The only reason it does not matter is because if you're falling short of the tournament and you're increasing the budget, let's say they increase the budget to $10 million, right? That would probably be, it's reported that they had $6 million, I think, in budget for this year. Let's say they increase it by $4 million and you'd miss the tournament and you're only 4 wins better. No, anything that does not result in making the tournament, I think automatically needs to be, okay, this did not work. The buyout's a little bit lower. I think it's under $10 million next year. Move on, and that be that. I think that needs to be. You can't make a huge financial investment just to miss the tournament again. That's not how this works, and it's not how it should work. So you're doing this as a 1-year flyer of, okay, we're giving you what you need. Go out here, build a great roster. Doesn't need to be a champion. You ideally want it to be a championship roster, but let's be real. Just getting to the tournament is a significant accomplishment for this program. Get to the tournament, and he'll be back here for years to come. Otherwise, it's got to be moving on because that would be a financial failure if they make this huge investment like they say they're going to, and then it just falls flat on its face. Even if the results on the floor are a little bit better, you still don't make the tournament. That's just not acceptable.
Tournament or bust next year for Lamont Paris, but for the time being, he knows his job is safe as he heads into another season. We'll hear what he had to say last night about being in 27 coming up next as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head and Jack Feltry with you on your Wednesday on The Game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
This hour of in-show listening on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by QC Kinetics in West Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today at qckinetics.com.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Are you a small business owner, a church, or other entity in need of a new HVAC system? Well, AAA Heating and Air has exciting news for you then. AAA now offers financing to qualified organizations to aid them in installing a new light commercial HVAC system. It's as easy as calling AAA Heating and Air for a quote or finding them online at callAAAtoday.com. Tell them Jack from 107.5 The Game sent you. At AAA Heating and Air, they've got your back. They're offering up to 12-month payment plans on repairs with no credit check required. That's right. No need to worry about your credit score in this case. As long as you're a homeowner with a valid bank account, you'll be good to go. So take control of your comfort today by giving a call to AAA Heating and Air at 803-677-1500. Again, the number to call AAA is 803-677-1500. Give them a call today and breathe easy again.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass, shepherdsglass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
If you're tired of dealing with gas, noise, and costly maintenance, it's probably time to switch to Steel battery power. Right now at Cato's Power Equipment, we have 65 Steel battery tools like the GTA 40 hand pruner, the BGA 60 blower, and the KMA 135 Combi Power Head. Each available with 2 free batteries for a limited time, giving you more runtime, less hassle, and up to $640 in instant savings. This deal is only available at Cato's Power Equipment, Columbia's home for the tools you need to maintain your turf. Visit CatosPowerEquipment.com.
Hi, I'm Maria, salon owner. You know the jingle. Now discover the facts about Ozempic, a GLP-1. There's only one FDA-approved Ozempic made by Novo Nordisk. Learn about the real thing.
Talk to your healthcare professional today. Call 1-833-OZEMPIC or visit Ozempic.com to view the medication guide and to learn more about Ozempic. Semaglutide injection 0.5, 1, and 2 milligrams.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot make your email response time faster. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you find space for your 3 desk drinks. Why do you have 3? And while we can't help you find the perfect volume for your presentation video, LinkedIn can help you find the perfect audience for your business. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text HIM to 215-215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text HIM to 215-215. That's HIM to 215-215.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Paid for by Adaptive Health.
Everybody loves streaming till you have to pay for it. Just download the 107.5 The Game app and stream us for free.
The Extra Point.
And the kick is good!
With Tyler Head and Jack Feltry from Gamecock Central. On the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
My conversations with Jeremiah really have been focused on, the landscape of college athletics and how rapidly it's changed, particularly in the last 2 years. If you think about how quickly some of these drastic changes are making, and then how we can continue to keep up and forge ahead within this landscape in a way that equips us better to provide the resources that we need to attract teams that can compete in the SEC. And so our conversations have been really solely focused on how and how to get there and what kinds of things we can do and how he can help us get there. So they've been really good conversations, and I'm excited about the path forward that way.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Felcher with you here on your Wednesday on the Game. That the voice of Lamont Paris talking last night at practice, probably with a little bit of a weight lifted off his shoulders, knowing that he's not coaching for his job this week out there in Nashville, and no matter what happens tonight, tomorrow, or however long they stay out there, he is going to come back next year with the promise of more resources. So it's put up or shut up time next year. As I said, you got to probably make the tournament to keep this thing going. But for at least a couple nights, you can probably sleep a little bit better before we get into the off season, with the portal opening up the day after the national championship, and trying to build a roster that's going to be able to compete in the SEC. You're going to be losing 6 guys to graduation. You're probably going to have a handful of other guys who are going to leave in the portal, and much like this past season, this entire team could look vastly, vastly different come this fall.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to break down there. Yeah, number one, like you said, I mean, yeah, it probably did feel like a weight lifted off his shoulders. And, look, we'll talk to him after the game tonight. That could be the final time we hear from him this season, because to my knowledge, there is no, right after the season ends press conference like there would be with baseball or football or whatever. We probably won't hear from LP probably again until the welcome home tour. I know they got that new Garnet and Black thing going on, but I don't know what that's going to really entail. And we wouldn't hear from him likely in a press conference till the summer. So yeah, I mean, talking to him yesterday, pretty much all the questions were just about everything going on with the move to bring him back, the future of this program. There was only one question, and it was right at the very end about the SEC tournament. And it's we kind of have to ask these tough questions, and credit to him, he answered all of them. I mean, there could have been a point where it's don't want to talk about that. Gives a short answer, whatever, but he answered every question and, took it on the chin. And, he knows the results haven't been good enough and that they need to be better. And he knows it's going to be an uphill battle with, bringing in better talent, with a larger budget to work with, hopefully. And then also just on top of that, just winning these fans back is just it's an underrated factor in all of this, but it's important when you see just how dense the crowds have looked throughout the year.
Yeah, and I hate to say that what happens tonight doesn't really matter, because especially for somebody like you that drove all the way out there to cover this thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't. If they lose tonight, okay, sure, it just starts the offseason a little bit earlier. If they win tonight, cool, to potentially get bounced by Texas A&M tomorrow night. Again, everybody's focused on what's going to be happening next, and hey, whatever you do this week is just gravy on what's been not the best season, though you were able to end on a high note, beating Ole Miss on Saturday. So it is a very weird dynamic of how everybody feels about this team, because again, the results tonight ultimately don't matter in the grand scheme of things, because most of the players on this team right now are not going to be on this team next year.
I'm going to be quite honest, and that's not really a surprise, but the real reason, for the most part, the real reason we're all out here is it was for this, for LP to see what decision was going. If a decision hadn't been made yet, the question would have been, do you feel like you have the support of the administration and whatnot? The usual question you ask a coach when they're probably, on the verge of getting fired or whatever. The other thing is, we get to talk to the players in the locker room after the game. That does not happen ever during the regular season. So talking to those guys, and typically the questions, tonight it'll probably be, if they lose, it'll be okay, are you they're not going to say straight up whether or not they're going to come back next year. Some guys might, but that's probably the main question I'll be asking tonight is, what are your plans for next year? What are your thoughts about LP coming back? I mean, that's the important stuff. Whatever happens on the court tonight, unless they win 5 games in 5 days and make the NCAA tournament as a result as the SEC champion, different story. But yeah, I mean, we're here to cover the game, but let's be real. It has much more to do with everything else going on, because the off season is I know it's sunny behind me here on screen, but it's a big dark cloud hanging over everything right now, because the season's about to end here soon.
Get ready with your cliche bingo card when you talk to players and ask them about their future at Carolina, if they still have eligibility left, because you're going to get some combination of, I got to talk to my family, got to talk to my people, I got to decide what's best for me in my future. That's probably going to be the answer you get from a lot of people.
You'd be surprised. Some of these guys, I think it was like Jordan Butler last year said he would be back. Nick Pringle was a guy. I know he transferred to Arkansas, but that was a guy. He didn't say straight up he's going to be back, but he said he would like to be. Stewart, he was very good. These guys typically, we're pretty good about giving answers, not like necessarily saying like, yeah, I don't know, or, you know, like yes or no, essentially. But, you know, we'll see how it goes tonight. There's a few guys that I think have important decisions to make, and I wonder how LP kind of factors into all of that.
Well, for the game that is actually happening tonight, South Carolina is playing a team that they already defeated early on in the season, that being Oklahoma 85-76 going back to January. And, you know, they do have an opportunity to beat them again tonight. And I think it's interesting that, you know, you had the dynamic that Lamont Paris knows that his job is safe. Meanwhile, Porter Moser is coaching an Oklahoma team that's on the outside looking in right now of the NCAA tournament. There's mixed signals being given out of Oklahoma if he's going to be retained or if he's going to be fired if they end up missing the tournament. So you have the team on the other side in a complete 180 situation, knowing that if they lose tonight, Porter Moser might be gone.
Yeah, that's the thing. And Oklahoma's been playing a lot better as of late. They're right on the verge of making the tournament. But it's like they need to go on a run here in Nashville, probably need to make it at least to the quarterfinals, which would be 2 wins over the next 2 days to get to Friday. And then you need some help around just college basketball in general. Because Joe Lunardi, ESPN bracketologist, has OU currently listed as his next 4 out. So it's not the first 4 out, it's the next 4. So it's like they're like the 7th or 8th team that's on the outside looking in. So, yeah, they would miss the tournament right now if the season ended today and they lost to South Carolina. They win, they keep some hope alive. But especially when you got a team like Auburn as well that is seemingly in a better position than Oklahoma in terms of making the tournament right now, even though their records are about the same. It's like Oklahoma's really got to do something big this week to get themselves into a position to do that. And they've played better as of late. They've won 6 of their last 8 games, and they've just been shooting really, really well. I mean, they have been shooting in their last 6 wins. They've shot 53% from the field, Tyler, and nearly 50% from beyond the arc. So if they play like that tonight, they're going to win pretty easily, I think. But when you go back to that game in Columbia a few months ago, they shot 43% from the field and 19% from 3. So if you can hold them to that, you got a real good chance at, you know, pulling off an upset here and you know, pretty much ending Oklahoma's season.
I do wonder as well if you'll be able to kind of see the physical difference between these teams with the body language on the court. Because, again, one team feels all the pressure in the world, and the other team's like, yeah, we don't really have a whole lot to gain here outside of winning 5 games in 5 days, and you really don't feel like they have anything to lose. Like, it'd be weird to say Carolina's playing with house money, but in a way they kind of are because, again, the results this week don't really matter. Those guys can just kind of go out there and ball out and have fun, hopefully.
It is strange because it's like, you're right. I think making the decision on LP before this thing got going is actually kind of smart. And I think it needed to probably happen beforehand, so that way these guys aren't feeling like, oh, man, is my coach even going to be here? Like, they know. And I think that probably takes some of the pressure off them this week, if there is any. But there's not a ton of pressure to begin with because they're the 14th seed in this tournament. You're expected to go one and done, and maybe they will. But we've seen crazy things happen in college basketball. I'm not saying South Carolina is going to go out on a run and win this thing. I definitely don't expect that to happen. It's just a lot of wear and tear on the body to play 5 games in a row. But I will say, I think South Carolina can win this game tonight. I think there is definitely some merit in that, and they have done it before. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to really hold off Oklahoma for having a great shooting night. But if you hold them below that 40% clip, you have a great chance in this one, I think.
We'll see what happens, and again, we'll react tomorrow to a win and advancing on or a loss and starting the offseason even earlier. So we'll see what happens tonight. Again, pregame coverage starting at 9 o'clock for a 9:30-ish tip time. Probably be a little bit after that, depending on how things flow out there in Nashville. But we'll react to that tomorrow nonetheless. Baseball was in action last night, and Jack's probably glad he wasn't at that one because it was not pretty down on the coast in Charleston. We'll get into that. Let's hear what Paul Mainieri had to say about it. Coming up next, it is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Feltry on your Wednesday on The Game.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 96.9 The Game in Charleston, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
2 words, prostate exam. Relax. Screening starts with a simple finger-free blood test. Around 1 in 8 men in the United States will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime. Prostate cancer can have over a 99% 5-year relative survival rate when caught at a localized or regional stage. If you're 40 or over and have a prostate, visit relaxitsabloodtest.com to see if a PSA blood test is right for you. Talk to your doctor about screening and the next steps. Sponsored by Novartis. Tires matter. They're the only part of your vehicle that touches the road. Tread confidently with new tires from Tire Rack. Whether you're looking for expert recommendations or know exactly what you want, Tire Rack makes it really easy. Fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, convenient installation options, and the best selection of General tires. Go to TireRack.com/Dan to see their General tire test results, tire ratings, and reviews, and be sure to check out all the special offers. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
If you've ever been to a Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union, you know there's something different about the people who work there. They're the type of people who mail a wallet they found on the street back to the owner, who always share their fries, who say bless you when you sneeze, even if it's like 5 sneezes in a row, who get just as excited when something good happens to you as if it happened to them. You know what? Maybe you should just stop by sometime and see for yourself. Palmetto Citizens. Feel the love. Federally insured by NCUA.
Running a business means wearing multiple hats. So if you're like me, you probably started out using your personal phone, taking client calls and texts nonstop. As my business grew, I needed something smarter. That's when I switched to Quo, the #1 business phone system. Quo works right on your phone or computer. No carrying 2 phones, no clunky landline, just one easy app you can try for free. Your team can share one number and handle calls and texts together like a shared inbox. Any teammate can jump into the conversation, so customers get faster responses. And Quo's AI assistant summarizes your calls and responds to customers 24/7, so you never miss a lead or opportunity. All this starts at just $15 a month. That's basically 2 coffees. You can even keep your current business phone number. Find out why 90,000 businesses trust Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Try Quo for free at quo.com/sports. That's quo.com/sports to try Quo free. QUO.com/SPORTS.
They say perfection is a journey, and at Carolina Stone Craftsman, that journey leads us to just outside Columbia in Chapin. Our marble, our granite, our quartz, they're sculpted with the highest craftsmanship, honed with family values, and delivered with professional results. Explore the craftsmanship of each slab, see all our new showroom has to offer, and experience our custom hardscapes. Crafted to perfection, experience Carolina Stone Craftsman's workmanship. Take us for granted. Your journey to perfection starts with us, Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com.
Discover the best of burger sophistication at Grill Marks, located at 711 Gervais Street in Columbia's dynamic Vista area. This exceptional burger venue redefines dining with gourmet smash burgers, crafted from a unique blend of certified Angus beef. Vegetarians and gluten-free guests will be thrilled with options like unburgers, featuring grilled chicken or impossible patties. Indulge in opulent hand-spun milkshakes, including extravagant freak shakes and adult shake tails with liquor or craft beer. Complement these treats with signature cocktails and an extensive variety of local craft beers. Enjoy enticing deals: $2 Prosecco Tuesdays, Wing Wednesdays, and $4 margaritas on Thursdays. Grill Marks promises an unforgettable dining experience and vibe for every visitor. Don't miss out on this sweet deal from Grill Marks. Beginning this Friday at 9 a.m., visit 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals to get a $50 gift certificate to Grill Marks for just $25.
The Extra Point with Tyler Head and Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central on the Game Network and the 107.5 The Game app.
Extra Point, Tyler Head, Jack Belcher with you here on your Wednesday on the Game. Last night, Gamecock baseball in action for their final midweek contest before starting SEC play on the road in Gainesville coming up this weekend as he took on the Citadel, looking to go 6-0 in the games played since dropping the series to Clemson the prior weekend. And, it didn't go the way anybody wanted it to go, as South Carolina falls 8-3 to the Citadel down in Charleston. And Paul Mainieri, after the game last night, gave his assessment of what happened.
Give credit where credit is due. I thought the Citadel played a great game tonight, really did. Early in the game, they turned around a couple of 95-mile-an-hour fastballs and hit them out of the ballpark. They made some terrific plays. Their pitchers did a good job. They coached a great game. I mean, I give credit where credit is due. They played well, and they obviously deserved to win. On the other hand, we didn't play so well. We gave away 10 free passes, 9 walks, and a hit batter, and made 4 errors, and got 4 hits. I mean, that's not a very good game for us. So we've been playing really good baseball, and the last thing we want to do now is just let one game, change the feeling we have about ourselves. We've got obviously a very challenging weekend ahead of us going down to Gainesville, and I want these guys in a positive frame of mind. I thought we were ready to play, but we just didn't have a great game.
Jack, I don't know how many teams you're going to beat giving 10 free passes, committing 4 errors, and only having 4 hits on your own.
No, you're lucky to have scored 3 runs in this game, and thanks to Will Craddock for that. The only guy that really seemed to show up last night.
The first one almost didn't count.
Yeah, I don't know how.
That was weird,
but it was very weird. But yeah, 2 hits the rest of the game, and I hate to say it, it's the Citadel, man. They're 6-8 now this year. But is it really a surprise considering South Carolina's lost to Northern Kentucky, Army, Queens, the Citadel? I'm just saying, for all the problems South Carolina had last year, they did not lose these games. They didn't lose to teams that you could find on the History Channel. It just would not happen. And I think this is a better roster. That's the crazy part. I think this is a better team. I don't think this is a bad team. I think it's supposed to be a good team, but they're just not playing like it. And they haven't played like it consistently. I don't know what happened with the hitting approach. I just don't understand why things just feel like it consistently changes. And, I don't know. I mean, the consistent shuffling of the lineup, I mean, maybe that's making an impact. I got no clue, but yeah, you're not going to win baseball games when your pitching struggles the way it felt like South Carolina kind of. And I understand you're working Alex Philpott and Cullen Horowitz, who made their season debuts last night, back into the picture. But I don't like the bullpen game approach. I don't. I understand. Get Philpott some work in there. But why are you not going with a guy like, Connor Ciccoli pitched into a 3rd inning last night. Why is he not getting the start on the mound after you're done with Philpott for an inning? Or much less, why don't you just start Ciccoli or Logan Prisco right away? Both those guys just pitched great in their last few midweek games. It's not like South Carolina's playing a midweek game tomorrow or today on Wednesday. They only had 1 midweek game. I don't really understand it for the life of me. I understand you want to get Philpott some work in there, but there's a different way to go about it. It just kind of this is something you would do during a scrimmage. It's throwing 10 different guys, right? And, believe it or not, Citadel wasn't treating this like a scrimmage or a walk in the park. They were treating it like a real baseball game, and they played like it and beat South Carolina.
I think that's a fair point, because especially when we knew going into last night, as Mainieri had said, I think on Friday when we talked to you guys about Philpott and Horowitz making their returns, they were going to be on pitch counts somewhere between 20 and 25 pitches, and Philpott had 24 last night. Horowitz had 21. Like, that's more conducive of somebody coming out of the bullpen to give you an inning in the middle of the game where, Ciccoli could have realistically maybe come out there, started the thing, and maybe gone 3 or so innings before you turn to the bullpen, 4 innings or something like that. Because, it was weird knowing because Philpott didn't even get out of the first inning. He only made 2/3 of the way through because he threw all those pitches up to that point. And, again, he had a pitch count on him, so you weren't going to push him anything past that. So you're having to make a change in the first inning. Like, it just kind of ended up being clunky. There was no rhythm to the pitching last night, which contributed to why they walked 9 guys and hit 1 guy, so 10 free passes in total. And just a messy game all around. Again, if this was the only midweek game you had lost or the only game you had lost this season to a mid-major, we could have chalked it up to a bad night. But, again, you're starting to see this be a consistent thing. And they'd been on a run of 5 games up to this point where they'd handled their business for the most part. But, again, Northern Kentucky and Army, Queens, now this, it's just like there's a lot of things wrong with this team that I don't feel comfortable about going into conference play this weekend.
I don't either. I think this is it's so weird because I feel like every week my thoughts change on this team. Like after Northern Kentucky, I'm like, all right, they're done. Like they're just not gonna have a good year. And then they go out here and win a game against Clemson, and it's like, oh man, like this team actually has some life. And then they lose to Queens, and it's like, oh man. And then they drop 2 or 3 to Clemson, and it's like, wow. And then you get to this 5-game winning streak. And yes, I know it came against Princeton and, midweek opponents, but baseball, it's much different than football or basketball where you know what's going to happen. Baseball is that one sport that is just a lot more unpredictable. And it's case and proof that you can win, without having the most NIL capital or whatever. So, yeah, look, last night was not good. The results haven't been great this year. 12-6 now. It's just not going to cut it. But I will say this, all to an extent can be forgiven if you go out here and play well in conference play. You can make these games that you're losing right now pretty insignificant and not really matter as long as you're going out here and doing well in conference play. But Florida just picked up a nice win over Florida State last night. So it seems like they're kind of, back to playing better baseball, even though they just had a rough weekend against High Point. That's going to be the real test here to see if South Carolina really can, overcome some of their early struggles. But not with this defense. Not with this defense that makes an error seemingly every single game. And they had 4 last night. That's just not going to cut it.
And I don't know if you noticed this, but the way they had the cameras set up down there at the Riverdog Stadium, anytime they'd show a batter in the box from the alternate camera angle, you could see Maneri at the top of the steps in the dugout, or when they showed replays of strikeouts and hits and stuff like that. And maybe this is just how he is throughout the entire game, but he just seemed disgusted by everything that was happening last night. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's just the frustration of last night individually, or if that's just the tone he has for this team right now. But he just, even early in the game, just some of the pitches, he just looked disgusted by what he was seeing. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but that's something that stood out to me watching the game last night.
You're not reading too much into it. Is anything a surprise at this point?
I guess not.
After the article came out last year, there's just nothing that surprises me. I heard a lot of the same things that happened last year. But yeah, it's not surprising. And he's a guy that I understand it. You want to win, and I get it. You want to be tough on your guys by all means. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, it feels like these guys just really aren't playing comfortable right now, and it's showing. I mean, some of these guys have to hit though. I mean, Lozama 0 for 4, Sutter 0 for 4, Patrick Evans, I know he is just getting back 0 for 3, Dawson Harmon 0 for 3. I mean, that's just not going to cut it when basically 2/3 of your lineup didn't do anything last night. So, and then the pitching didn't help you at all either. I mean, but hey, you played probably your worst game of the year just on all fronts last night. 4 errors, 4 hits, and a lot of free passes, and the pitching just wasn't good enough. So it's no surprise they lost that game last night.
So what kind of games would we like to see South Carolina get involved with this weekend against Florida? We'll hit that coming up next for your Would You Rather Wednesday to wrap up hour number 1. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri along with you here on your Wednesday on The Game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network, Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
It's that time again. Friday, April 3rd, the Spring Golf Classic at Charwood in West Columbia with our buddies Rock and Daniel Lucas. Once again, $400 for a team. And we have Saki's Morning Libations Bar before tee-off. Also, the classic onion sausage. Once again, presented by the Lexington Gamecock Club. Yeah, I know you're going to ask. We have the golf gun. Yes, we do. All that Friday, April 3rd. Again, $400 a team, $100 for an individual. Very simple. Write down this phone number, 803-755-2000, and press number 2 for our buddies at Charwood. Again, 803-555-2000, press 2. April 3rd, it's the Spring Golf Classic from the Game.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
Point me to literally any other storyline today. There are none. This is it. A stunner in the AFC. The deal that would have sent Max Crosby to the Ravens has collapsed at the 11th hour. Sources saying that Baltimore pulled the plug after a failed physical involving Crosby's knee. Massive hype for the trade, and then it all comes crumbling down. I'm Drake Toll.
Love college basketball? Gear up for another exciting season of college ball with a special offer from BetMGM. Sign into your BetMGM account and enjoy a college basketball odds boost token to snag even more winnings on your next bet. Just log into the BetMGM Sportsbook app, add any college basketball bet to your bet slip, and activate your odds boost token. If you win your bet with your token activated, you'll score extra winnings. It's that simple. Log in and enjoy our odds boost token to help you create another memorable season of college ball. Head for the net with BetMGM all season long. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. Must be 21 years of age or older. This promotional offer not available in D.C., Mississippi, New York, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. For New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. For Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP. For Massachusetts, 1-800-327-5050. For Iowa, 1-800-BETS-OFF. For Puerto Rico, 1-800-981-0023. Subject to eligibility requirements in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Jane Dawson did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With the money she saved, she got herself a pricey bird feeder with an ultra-high-def camera. Should Jane have just bought a regular bird feeder? Yes. Is it hard for her to admire nature when the camera doubles as the bird's potty? Also, yes. But it's Jane's savings, and if she wants to spend her time watching the digestive habits of the white-breasted nuthatch, we say you go, girl. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Spring deals are popping up early at Lowe's. Right now, get 4 bags of Stay Green 2 cubic foot mulch for just $10. Plus, save $20 on an Ego 56-volt string trimmer, now just $199. Spring starts better when you save early. Don't miss out. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/18. Mulch offer excludes Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last.
Jane Dawson did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With the money she saved, she got herself a pricey bird feeder with an ultra-high-def camera. Should Jane have just bought a regular bird feeder? Yes. Is it hard for her to admire nature when the camera doubles as the bird's potty? Also, yes. But it's Jane's savings, and if she wants to spend her time watching the digestive habits of the white-breasted nuthatch, we say you go, girl. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Spring deals are popping up early at Lowe's. Right now, get 4 bags of Stay Green 2 cubic foot mulch for just $10. Plus, save $20 on an Ego 56-volt string trimmer, now just $199. Spring starts better when you save early. Don't miss out. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/18. Mulch offer excludes Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last.
The Extra Point.
And the kick is good!
With Tyler Head and Jack Beltry from Gamecock Central. On the Game Network, the 107.5, the Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry with you here on your Wednesday on the Game. Reminder, as Gamecock baseball gets back in action coming up this weekend against Florida, your next chance to win the Crescent Construction Grand Slam contest. Now $50 in the pot going into Friday's game. That goes up by $25 each and every game. If a Gamecock hitter goes yard with the bases loaded, you could win all the money in the pot, just like somebody did the other day, thanks to Talmadge Leroy's Grand Slam from Game 3 against Princeton. So, again, go online to 1075thegame.com and register for the Crescent Construction Grand Slam contest if you have not done so already. Jack, as we look into this weekend, we get into our Would You Rather Wednesday. And, again, we'll break down this matchup more as the week goes along. We'll try and get somebody from the Gator side of things the next day or so to give us their perspective on how their season has gone so far, because they've certainly had their ups and downs too. But if I give you the option of South Carolina getting into 3 pitchers duels this weekend or 3 just high-scoring shootouts in Gainesville, what option do you think suits them better?
I think the better question is, what's more realistic?
Maybe that's a better question.
I would say, if we're going for realistic, let's be honest. This offense is far too inconsistent. I'm going to go with the pitching. I think you're more likely to get into some pitcher duels this weekend because, well, actually, Florida's pitching isn't very good. So, if it's just from the South Carolina side of things, I mean, you want them to pitch well and be in pitcher duels. I would say in a shootout, I don't know. It's a good question. That's why it's on Would You Rather Wednesday. I'm going to go with taking the pitcher duels, though. You know, I think eventually Florida is going to get it figured out, I think, from a pitching side of things. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if they just seemingly shut down South Carolina this weekend. I mean, that's the approach that South Carolina is taking at the plate right now. It may work against a team like Princeton, but, I mean, it did not work last night. And I'm a little concerned it may not work against SEC competition. So we'll see, but I think pitching duels are probably more likely.
I think we'd feel better coming away from the weekend, and now wins and losses are irregardless in this argument here. We're just kind of talking about the way these games could go. I think we'd feel better coming away from the weekend if it was 3 pitchers duels as opposed to 3 just high-scoring offensive explosions, because when you have good pitching, it's kind of like in football. Like sometimes the best offense is a really good defense type of thing, to where if you got the defense, then you can figure out the offense stuff as time goes along, where if you don't have the defense, then your offense has to carry the slack of that, where, all right, if Carolina gets in a bunch of like 2-1 or 3-2 games this upcoming weekend, I think you can not write off, but you can excuse the offensive struggles a little bit more because you are taking a step up in competition, but you'd at least be able to say, hey, at least the pitching's good. Whereas like if pitching's getting shelled, you're having to score a lot of runs, I don't think you look at that as sustainable. Neither one's sustainable because you're going to have both to be successful, but I think you feel more comfortable knowing your pitching is better coming away from the weekend than your offense.
It's a lot more doable to win these games if your pitching is going out there and doing well. And at the same time, your defense needs to play better. I mean, if your defense is doing what it needs to do and your pitching in front of them is doing well as well and giving up maybe 3 runs a game, I'm sorry, but that should be enough for South Carolina to go out here and really do well this weekend. If you get decent enough pitching performances this weekend, and I think you're going to see that this weekend. I mean, I think Carolina's got a pretty good. I know last night did not show it, but again, a lot of teams are losing midweek games. I mean, there are better teams around the country that have lost, games like that last night that like South Carolina did. But I think the pitching has been overall, for the most part, pretty solid this year. And I think the 3 starters this weekend give you a good chance to go out there and do that. I think Goodman's going to, potentially do better. We'll see how that goes. If everything remains the same, of course. But yeah, it's a lot more conceivable to think South Carolina can win this series if the pitching goes out here and does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, pitching, if the pitching is the strength of your team, you're going to give yourself a chance. If offense is and pitching is struggling, then that could vary wildly. And again, we've seen Florida have their own ups and downs, go back to just this weekend against High Point. So I don't know what to expect this weekend. Obviously, I hope, especially for your sake, considering the fact you're driving all the way down there, they at least take 2 out of 3 to extend hope for this fan base, right? Because I know a lot of people are already jumping off the ship from just what you've seen in non-conference play so far, which includes the loss to Clemson. But if you can go down there and find a way to win 2 games, no matter how you do it, no matter how ugly or pretty it looks, if you can take 2 out of 3 on the road in Gainesville to come back here to play Arkansas next week, who they're having some of their own struggles too, then you say, okay, I see a pathway where this team might be competitive, but if you go down there and get swept, especially if it's not close, then the remaining people may just go ahead and jump off ship.
It is also interesting that the decision with basketball yesterday, it kind of interlocks with baseball here in a lot of ways, because Paul Mainieri, let's just call it for what it is. His job is definitely on the line this year, because if South Carolina is not going to have a good season and miss the postseason, and if it's anything like last year, it's a lot easier to move on from $4 million compared to 12. So just keep that in mind. The pressure kind of shifts to Mainieri now at this point, because pressure's off of basketball this week now with LP being back. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, a good weekend out in Gainesville. Again, a good run in the SEC, playing well against your conference foes. That kind of overrules whatever happens during the midweek games. You can make those midweek games not matter, those early season losses, but you got to go out here and play well, and that does start this weekend. Have to take 203 at least.
Game 1 on Friday, 6:30. Pregame coverage starting at 6:15 right here on 107.5 The Game. We'll get into some football conversation on the other side. Manny Navarro of The Athletic has graded all SEC teams' transfer portal hauls. Where did Carolina's come in? We'll discuss that on the other side. It is The Extra Point here on The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com.
Time right here for our friends over at Twin Peaks. Hey, Columbia, it's time to head to your Ultimate Sports Lodge, Twin Peaks, over on Gervais Street, where they're serving up scratch-made eats, wall-to-wall big games on giant TVs, and, of course, those famous 29-degree ice-cold draft beers that hit just right. Whether you're catching March Madness hoops, cheering on the Gamecocks, or just craving some hand-smashed burgers, wings, tacos, or a juicy steak, Twin Peaks has got you covered. Their fun, friendly team is ready to make every visit epic. You can dine in, grab takeout, or order delivery, and swing by 600 Gervais Street right here in the heart of the Vista, and come for the views and stay for the victory. Twin Peaks, Columbia, where every day's a peak experience.
Mike Rowe here with a fun fact. Did you know that 50% of the air that you breathe inside your home comes from your crawl space? Yeah. Whether your crawl space is wet, musty, or your floors are bouncy, do yourself a favor and call a Groundworks company. I spent some time working with these guys, and they're the real deal. Their people are trained and certified to repair your crawl space. Schedule a free inspection with Mount Valley Foundation Services, a Groundworks company.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Yo, this is Ray and Nathan with Pope Davis Tire Automotive.
Dad, why do the other tire places in town not like us?
They are just jelly about our lit prices.
Like the top 17-inch size for your Mommobile, $500 for a set of 4 out the door.
Or the top 20-inch truck size for $720 total, no cap.
You can even buy tires online at PopeDavisTire.com.
Why is my line just 6'7"?
6'7".
I don't get it.
PopeDavisTire.com.
Did you know GoodRx can help you save on medication, manage prescriptions, and get trusted health information? If you're one of the millions living with a heart condition, check GoodRx for an easier, more affordable way to manage your health. GoodRx offers common heart medications for under $30. Just search for your prescription, find the best price, then show your pharmacist the GoodRx coupon. And it works whether you have insurance or not. To start saving and better manage your heart health, download the free app or visit GoodRx.com today. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
You know that Chick-fil-A sells more than chicken, right?
Hello, my name is Jaleesa, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit is how it's all of my favorite breakfast items in one good bite. That fluffy egg, that melty cheese with that perfectly grilled sausage. It just gives you that warmth, that comfort food that you love. It is the best possible option for a classic breakfast.
Comfort is calling. Order a Chick-fil-A sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit with Simply Orange Juice on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union presents scenes from Palmetto Citizens job interviews.
Tell me, Emily, what makes you the right fit for our vice president of Getting Pumped role?
Well, I have 8 years of banking experience, and helping people get great rates makes me super excited.
Oh, can you elaborate?
Yeah, sometimes it's like a woo. Other times it's more of a, oh, yeah!
Wow. Just wow.
Palmetto Citizens. Feel the love. Federally insured by NCUA.
Looking for a dealership that treats you like family? Come to Herndon Chevrolet, where we've been proudly serving Lexington and the Midlands for over 50 years. Whether you're shopping for a new or pre-owned vehicle or just need expert service, you'll find it all right here. Shop online anytime at HerndonChevy.com or stop by and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station. Oh, yeah? The Extra Point with Tyler Head.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
All right, welcome back in. Extra Point, hour number 2. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry with you here on your Wednesday on the Game. Again, Jack out in Nashville for coverage of tonight's men's basketball game in the SEC men's tournament as they take on Oklahoma in the 11-14 matchup, with pregame coverage starting at 9 o'clock for a around 9:30 tip right here on 107.5 The Game. A bit of a quieter week from a football standpoint. I guess when you complete your 2,000-mile journey, you'll be back right in time for the next viewing window for practice, which I believe is next Wednesday, correct?
Yeah, so I will, I'll be back. I'll be driving back from Florida on Tuesday. I will miss Pro Day. That stinks. Okay. So, but I will be there on Wednesday, and yeah, it'll be right back into everything. So it'll be fun. But yeah, it is kind of weird, though, that I can't really remember a time where they've started spring practice and then they take a week off because it's spring break, and then they go right back into spring practice. I really don't remember that, because it usually would just start, if I'm remembering correctly, like right after spring break typically.
Also, this is a really early spring break. Typically, that's like April sometime, I would think. I don't know. Maybe they do it like this, but it just seems early to me.
When I was in school, I think it would typically be around this time of year, because, again, classes end mid-May. I mean, so you got about like another month and a half. But, yeah, it's typically not like this early, it feels like.
Yeah, well, regardless, that is what it is, and we'll hear more from Beamer and company next week. And again, Pro Day is coming up on Tuesday, so looking forward to being out there for that. But while this is a quieter week, it gives us an opportunity to, again, kind of assess everything that's gone on in this offseason so far. And I came across this article from Manny Navarro of The Athletic, where he went through and graded every SEC team's transfer portal class based on what we know of them now. And again, we'll see how this ages once the season gets here. But Jack, if you had to place a letter grade on what Beamer had done in the portal so far this offseason, about where would you put South Carolina's class?
I think I have said this publicly before. I think I said about an A-, just because I think it's a pretty good class of guys they brought in. They filled the positions they needed to fill and then some, and did a really good job in this portal cycle. But the one thing that, now kind of looking back on it, I probably would have graded it maybe like a B+, just because it's a great class on paper. We don't know exactly how it's going to translate over to the real games yet, right? You can get all the stud players out of the portal during the offseason. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be turning into stars and be great players at South Carolina. So that would be my one holdup here. And as we'll get into here with Manny Navarro's breakdown from The Athletic, I think that's kind of where his thought process probably is.
Yeah, I'd probably land somewhere around a B+ myself. And my biggest thing when it comes to the portal, and look, every team's in this boat where you don't know how all these guys are going to pan out. And in fact, a lot of these guys are going to end up being depth pieces that don't end up seeing the field. So their results are kind of null by the time the season ends, as long as your results on the field are still really, really good. But my biggest thing is when you go into the portal, did you get everything that you needed, right? Did you check all the boxes of position groups you needed to address? And really, I feel like Carolina was able to do that. Offensive line pretty much flipped the entire room over, save for a couple guys. Added some guys at edge, added some guys on the D-line, added defensive backs, got some more depth in the running back room, added another quarterback because you needed some depth there. Like, I really can't look at anything on this team right now and say, oh, they really needed to hit that a whole lot harder in the portal. Like, you filled out your roster the way you needed it to, and that gives me, if I'm grading this myself, that gives me a lot of points in terms of looking at this being successful or not.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell how everything does shake out. But again, like, it wasn't like they left one position. No stones were left unturned here in the portal cycle. They brought in 25 plus guys, did a really good job of just filling out every position. And yes, you had some injuries with some guys. You know, I don't count Josiah Thompson as a guy that, he was in the portal, then he came back. So I don't really count that as a portal acquisition because he was on the team last year. But a guy like Jacarius Peak, yeah, I mean, that probably, hinders this grade a little bit, I would say, too, just because he's, going to be out for a little bit now. But, yeah, overall, South Carolina, I think, had a nice portal cycle, and I think it'll show, I think, this season.
Manny Navarro, a little bit lower in terms of how he graded it compared to ours. He gave them a B-. And some things he notes here with all these teams, they did bring back more snaps than they lost in the portal. So he had career snaps lost in the portal across 23 players as 10,356. You brought in 15,900. Again, a lot of those on the offensive line with some numbers that we talked about earlier. Again, he says the offensive line was an area of emphasis. 6 starters from FBS programs, including 3 from Power Fours, addressed the unit that South Carolina struggled in a year ago. Also mentions, picking up Nitro Tuggle and DJ Black. And 4 of the 5 additions on defense were linemen. And he regards it as a pretty good talent haul for a program badly in need of upgrades. And, yeah, when you go 4-8 like Carolina did a year ago, you brought back the big 3, as we call them, with Lenora Sellers, Nick Harbor, and Dylan Stewart. Everywhere else was obviously subject to needing a big overhaul, and a lot of these rooms look that way. Again, some of them needed more depth. Some of them needed completely new faces in there. And I feel like, again, kind of going back to that checklist, Carolina did what they needed to do.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, it really did feel like they had a mission in mind and had a lot of needs to fill, and they did it. Now, again, they really do need to, ensure that this is going to translate over to the season. We saw that happen 2 years ago, very much like basketball, where your transfers come in and they make a huge impact and you have a lot of success. And then we see what's happened in years where maybe you get some good transfers that come in, but they don't make a huge impact. And I think the thing beyond making an impact on the field, and this is the underrated factor of all this, is the leadership. And I think that's something that we've heard Shane talk about before, that he wanted to bring in more of this offseason. How do you identify leaders, through, it's very much like speed dating going through the portal here. You're having guys come in on visits, you're doing phone calls, you're trying to learn everything about them in the span of a few days. And then that's your decision on deciding whether or not to bring them in. And, I think South Carolina has definitely lacked that true leadership from last season. It just, we've talked about it many times, Tyler. We couldn't tell you who the leaders on that team were because it just wasn't. It was easy 2 years ago, but last year was not like that. You're kind of hoping, we don't know for sure right now who those leaders are, especially the new guys. But I think as we get to talking to more of these guys and we hear from some more, then we're at practice more, we're going to get a better idea, a better sense of who those guys are. And I think that's where the value of a transfer being brought in can really go above and beyond.
Are you looking at this article right now? Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah.
I broke this up into categories. You know all the teams that got A grades from Navarro on their transfer portal hauls?
I'm running through it right now, but do you want to go ahead and just break it down?
Yeah, it's 4 teams, and when I read these names off, you're not going to be surprised by this. LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, and Texas A&M. Now, if you had to, take a guess on which teams in the SEC were probably spending the most in terms of the portal, you'd probably guess those 4 teams, right?
Oh, totally. It's not a surprise that those teams easily will have the most money to work with. And of course, they're the big name brands. So yes, they're going to bring in a lot of players. And I think that honestly, when you look at what those teams did and the grades that they get, and let's bring it back to South Carolina for a second, the fact that they got a B, I mean, a B by all means is not even a bad grade. Again, a lot of it is just based off of what these guys that you brought in did at previous schools. And not everybody that you brought in is going to be at their previous school like a huge stats guy and did all this and that. Like some of these guys you're bringing in maybe are projects with a lot of eligibility left, and they may not play right away, but you're bringing them in with the intention that they can be, contribute for you down the road. So I think overall a B feels about right for South Carolina, especially when you compare it to, you just mentioned those schools right there that, the big name brands in this conference. Yeah, an A makes sense.
And these grades on these transfer portal classes aren't going to be completely indicative of success because every team had different approaches when it came to the transfer portal. Texas lost a lot of starters. They had to go out there and get a lot of guys to replace some of that production that they did, end up losing. Ole Miss lost a lot of guys at the end of last season as well. So they needed to hit the portal pretty hard. And again, when you have money to spend, you're going to be able to bring in more high-profile guys, which would warrant your class being looked at a lot more favorably than maybe some of the others. But then you look at a team like Georgia, who he gave a C+ to, they didn't really lose a lot in the portal, and they addressed the few areas they needed, like wide receiver and some help at safety as well. Alabama still very much leaning into the high school recruiting as they're bringing in good class after good class in regards to that. So they didn't bring in a ton of bodies in the portal either, but the way those teams are made up, that wasn't necessarily like their MO. So while, yes, their portal grade isn't going to be as high, that's not necessarily what they needed to do this offseason.
No, you're totally right. And, I mean, for those teams, yeah, I mean, they've got guys waiting on deck that are 4 or 5-star players that, yes, they don't need to go into the portal every offseason and bring in a whole new roster. Like some teams around the country have done that. And it feels like South Carolina is a little bit on the not the higher end necessarily. It feels like about the average with bringing in 20-plus guys out of the portal, but they've also brought in a lot of high school guys too. And the benefit of, yes, they lost some veterans from last year's team, but they do, and we've heard Shane talk about it before, they had a younger team last year. To some extent, it did feel that way. And they've had a lot of freshmen and sophomores play right away last year. Maybe as they get, more experience now, they've got more time under the belts, they know what to expect playing in the SEC. Couple that with the fact of you're bringing in veterans that, sure, maybe some of them haven't played in the SEC before, but they're coming in here as really talented players. I think that really could mold pretty well together and lead to some good results in the field.
By the way, again, the LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, and A&M all got A grades. South Carolina, Missouri, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Auburn all were in the B category, and there are plus and minuses in here. So there's a little bit of disparity between some of them. Georgia, Florida, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Alabama all ended up with C's. And the only team that got a overwhelmingly bad grade was Mississippi State with a D grade, as he noted they lost 10 of 11 starters and on offense, and they lost more than they gained. So seems like Jeff Lebby's kind of fighting a bit of an uphill battle going into year number 3. And again, your portal grade is not necessarily indicative of how successful you're going to be, but sounds like that's something they're going to have to overcome in Starkville this year.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State's in a bit of a rough spot right now. I thought they were going to make a bowl game. Well, they did make a bowl game last year, but it was kind of by default of teams not being there. But, yeah, we'll see. This is a big year for Mississippi State and Jeff Lebby, but yeah, it's not really a surprise to see they're kind of in the bottom of the pecking order in this conference still. Well,
we certainly feel good about what Carolina brought in. Again, you don't love the fact that you're dealing with some of the injuries that you are right now, but once you get him in, once you get Ja'Carrius Peak back coming up this year, hopefully he will be as good as advertised coming out of the transfer portal. Jack, I was not expecting last night to be as wild of a night in sports as it was, but oh boy, do we have a couple headlines we need to hit on the other side, which we'll get into coming up next. It is the Extra Point, Tyler Head and Jack Feltry with you here on your Wednesday on The Game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, and 100.5 The Game in Florence. Gamecock fans, get ready for something new this season. Charleston now has a new station for Carolina sports talk. Dial in to 96.9 The Game on HD3. Head to 96.9 FM and on an HD radio, punch into HD Channel 3. You'll unleash live Carolina coverage you can listen to all day long. New on HD3. It's 96.9 The Game HD3, South Carolina's newest sports station.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com. Get ready to shamrock your St. Patty's Day with festivities at O'Hara's Public House in Lexington. Join them Saturday, March 14th for an all-day party under the Big Top, starting at noon with Brandon Mullis. As the sun sets, local favorites Prettier Than Matt and Tokyo Joe will take the stage for a special joint set from 6 to 10 that you absolutely don't want to miss. But the celebration doesn't stop there. Return on St. Patrick's Day, Tuesday, March 17th for Columbia's most authentic Irish experience. Enjoy another all-day event of delicious food, lively fun, and fantastic music featuring the Cash Money Experience. Don't miss out on the ultimate St. Patty's Day parties at Columbia's only Irish pub, O'Hara's Public House in Lexington. For more details on all the Shamrock Festival events, visit o'harasph.com. Cheers to a full day of Irish charm. Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass, shepherdsglass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
To 15-year-old Harper, buying an $80 vintage rock t-shirt is a great investment. To Harper's mom, this logic has a few holes in it. So she helped Harper open a Wells Fargo Clear Access banking account. With no overdraft fees and tools to track spending, Harper's learning, one heavy metal tee at a time. However you make money work, Wells Fargo can work with that.
Terms apply. Visit wellsfargo.com/deposit disclosures for fees and details.
The YMCA of Columbia is offering our listeners this sweet deal. Half off a 6-month individual or family membership. Enjoy access to all 6 Midlands locations, including the new 24/7 Chapin location opening this spring. Visit this station's website and click Sweet Deals to get yours today.
Want to unlock the power of athlete marketing to grow your business? Garnet Trust has recently launched a business membership program, making it easier than ever for your business to work directly with a USC student athlete. Visit garnettrust.com today or call 803-250-1765 to see your business boom.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. Visit CordellCordell.com.
1201 Main Street, Columbia.
Average Amy's. Our coffee has caffeine and our muffins are cooked.
You're not average. Your marketing results shouldn't be either. Cumulus Digital outperforms industry benchmarks by over 25%. Visit cumulusdigital.com to start outperforming today.
South Carolina Department of Corrections is hiring correctional officers statewide. Officers must be at least 18 years of age and have a high school diploma or GED. If you have correctional, police, security, or military experience, you can join their team at a promotional rank as a sergeant or lieutenant. Discover a rewarding correctional career with room for long-term career advancement and a generous employee benefits package that cares for you and your family. Visit joinscdc.com to apply today. Sponsored by SC Department of Corrections, SCBA, and this station.
Looking for a dealership that treats you like family? Come to Herndon Chevrolet, where we've been proudly serving Lexington and the Midlands for over 50 years. Whether you're shopping for a new or pre-owned vehicle or just need expert service, you'll find it all right here. Shop online anytime at HerndonChevy.com or stop by and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
The Extra Extra Point with Tyler Head.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
82 points. Mama, we feel your joy. The second highest scoring game in NBA history. 83.
Welcome back into the Extra Point. Yes, indeed, that was the call last night on the FanDuel Sports Network, as I'm sure we were all expecting the biggest news headline of the night to come out of the game between the Heat and the Washington Wizards last night. Bam Adebayo becomes the second highest scorer in an individual NBA game in the league's history by knocking down 83 points against the Wizards, second only to Wilt Chamberlain's 100-yard game. He's obviously now passed Kobe's game from 20 years ago where he scored 81 points. I don't think anybody saw this one coming, Jack.
When you read off the names, Wilt Chamberlain, Bam Adebayo, and then Kobe Bryant as the three highest scoring games in the history of the NBA, that's kind of crazy. And we were talking about this during the break, Tyler, because I was curious because I saw last night, Bam, I mean, almost half his points came off free throws. He went 36 of 43 at the free throw line. That's how much a team normally shoots in a game, which is just nuts. I mean, the Heat had 59 free throw attempts last night. So I was looking at Kobe's stat line from the 81-point game against the Raptors in 06. He did it on 28 of 46 shooting, 7 of 13 from the three-point range, only 18 of 20 at the free throw line, which is a lot. But when you compare it to 43 free throw attempts for Bam, I mean, that's just crazy. But Bam also did it on 7 three-pointers as well. And just a really nice game, 20 of 43 overall shooting. And yeah, I mean, the Heat put up 150 points last night. He was responsible for basically half of it.
And I believe I saw his career high prior to last night. It was only like 32 or 33. So he well exceeded that, obviously, last night. And it got really weird at the end of this game. Again, this was local FanDuel Sports Network broadcast. This was not a nationally televised game. So, you know, if you got the alert on your phone, you couldn't have popped it on ESPN. I know NBC did like a look-in for the game they had on last night as this was kind of unfolding. But when you kind of dive into what happened, the Wizards clearly did not want to get embarrassed by having a record number dropped on them. So they were like triple teaming Bam. They were trying to foul other players to prevent him from giving opportunities to score. And then despite the fact the Heat were up by so much, they were fouling late in the game to give more possession opportunities to Bam. And it just kind of devolved into this kind of mess of a game. So it was not like maybe the most aesthetically pleasing 83 points, but it's one of those things like a record's a record, man. And I will say Bam now holds the distinction of being the highest scorer in a single game in NBA history that we have video documentation of.
Yes. I mean, 83 points is 83 points, and I was not expecting it from someone like him, especially since we don't get to see. I mean, I was how old were you when Kobe scored 81? Because I would have been 6, I think.
I would have been 9, so that was January of 06.
Yeah. Actually, no, I would have been 5. So I have no memory of that. Like I did not watch NBA at 5 years old. I will say this though, like, I mean, we just don't see stuff like this very often. We see a few 60-point games. I mean, Kobe had his 50-point game or 60-point game in his final game. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, I think, had 60-something points not too long ago. I mean, like, it's been done, but not to this extent of
right.
I didn't think anytime soon we'd be seeing Kobe's 81-point mark get shattered. So it's crazy. I do wonder if we ever see 100 points, though.
Yeah. You think Asia can go out there and break that this year in the WNBA if they have a season?
We'll see. I did see she was at the podium last night with Bam talking after the game. So it's possible.
They're both such high-level competitors. I know she's looking at that like, okay, we'll see who's the highest scorer in this household for how long. Because I think her high is like 50-something points in a game. So
which is still very good.
Which is still very good, but now she's like, okay, now I got a bar to beat.
Yeah. So, but crazy that Bam Adebayo is the in-between of Wilt and Kobe. That's
while that was happening on the basketball court, the U.S. men's baseball team was struggling against Italy last night. And I don't know, maybe they weren't taking the game too seriously, especially when you consider these comments from manager Mark DeRosa earlier in the day yesterday.
Ton of respect for Italy. It's weird. We want to win. We want to win this game, even though our tickets punched to the quarterfinals, because Mexico plays Italy actually tomorrow. So the way the schedule lines up, this is an important game for us. Nolan McLean will start. He's on the bump and he's good to go. He's an absolute beast, and I expect him to throw the heck out of him.
Here's the problem, Jack. America was not having their ticket punched already to the quarterfinals. They did need to beat Italy last night to guarantee that, because now they're having to sit back and hope, and it's weird because there's a point system in here. They have to hope that Italy beats Mexico. Italy would win the pool at 4-0, and Team USA would finish second at 3-1 ahead of Mexico's 2-2 mark. Or if Mexico beats Italy and Mexico scores 5 or more runs in 9 innings, Mexico and U.S. would then advance. So they are no longer in control of their own destiny after losing, nearly coming back, though, to Italy last night.
Yeah, and the other thing with these scenarios, if Mexico wins and they score 4 or less runs, Mexico and Italy would advance. So here's the thing. I think there's some people out there like, oh, I'm sure Mexico and Italy want USA out of the pool and not going on to the next round. That's probably not true, because Mexico's manager the other day was talking about how he wants to play the U.S. again and beat them. So I think Mexico is going to do everything they can to win this game and ensure the U.S. gets on to the next round. But what an absolute inexcusable thing for Mark DeRosa to say. How does he not know that? I mean, even I just watched the game the other night against Mexico. I'm like, okay, they still need to win on Wednesday or on Tuesday to advance. Like, it's not a guarantee that if you go 3-1, you're automatically in. And apparently, there were a bunch of guys on the team that were drinking the night after the game, or right after the game, and staying up super late. It is just really bad. And then for DeRosa to kind of backtrack on what he said in the post game when he was asked about it, and he said, "Yeah, you know, I misread the calculations and I misspoke." You definitely didn't misspeak, because during the game there was an interview with him and Ken Rosenthal talking during the middle of the game, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to bring Ryan Yarbrough in and get him some work, and I'm trying to get some guys off their feet." You don't say that in a game that you know you have to win. You say that in a game where, I mean, he had Clayton Kershaw, who he's talked about as his emergency last resort option, throwing in the bullpen. Now, he didn't end up pitching, and he sat back down, but there was video of him literally tossing in the bullpen last night. And starting Paul Goldschmidt, look, I'm a Yankee fan. I like Paul Goldschmidt, but not starting Bryce Harper is nuts. And I think, honestly, when he got to like the 8th inning, that's probably when DeRosa realized, like, oh, crap, like, we got to win this game. And, I mean, it didn't help that the U.S. didn't play great last night. Pete Crow-Armstrong hit 2 homers last night. I mean, they lost 8-6, but they were down 8-0 in this game, Tyler. And it's just, it's kind of embarrassing, honestly. And it's just not – I feel like the U.S. just really doesn't care about the WBC, because you see Puerto Rico, you see the Dominican Republic, you see all these other countries that are so enthralled with this. And the U.S. just, I mean, you got Tarek Skubal, who doesn't, want to pitch. He wants to go back to Tigers camp or whatever. You got DeRosa not even knowing the situation. I mean, it's a mess right now. And honestly, the most fitting way for this to end would be the U.S. getting eliminated and when they don't even control their destiny.
By the way, there's some kind of irony to this, where, again, U.S. doesn't control its own destiny, and you're going to have to tune in to watch Italy and Mexico to play tonight at 7 o'clock on Tubi, of all places, to see if the United States will get to play anymore in the World Baseball Classic going into the knockout quarterfinals coming up in a couple days. There's
a reason why Mark DeRosa, I mean, he was the manager for the U.S. in the last WBC as well.
Yep.
I'm very critical of Aaron Boone. I don't think he's a great manager for the Yankees. But, man, Mark DeRosa, there's a reason why this guy does not get calls. There's a reason why he's a TV analyst and not an actual manager. This does not count, in my opinion. It's just you have the best roster. You have one of the best rosters, and this is what you're putting out right now. Just inexcusable on every single front.
Well, if he was interested in becoming a manager again, I imagine this scenario would get brought up in the interview, and that one's tough to explain away.
It's going to be everywhere if the U.S. does not make it. He better be hoping the U.S. can get to the next round.
Yep. So, again, tune in to Italy and Mexico tonight and see if the U.S. will advance into the quarterfinals coming up later on this week. Well, it's been a wild week in the NFL as well from a free agent and trade standpoint, including some that aren't going to happen. We'll get into that coming up next as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri with you on your Wednesday on The Game.
Wow, what a play! The Game Network, Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
This hour of in-show listening on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by QC Kinetics in West Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today at qckinetics.com.
All right, everybody, let's tell you about our presenting sponsor here on the Garnet Trust Hour. It's our friends over at Krantz Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing. KrantzCooling.com, Krantz, cooling with a K.com. You've heard us talk about them here on the program every single week. HVAC service, local, reliable for your home or your business. Repair, maintenance, and installation. They've been out to my home for new installations, for maintenance, for repairs. They've been out to Wes's home, too. You can trust Justin Krantz and his local family-owned business since 1983. They've been helping Midlands families and businesses with any of their HVAC needs. We're excited to say now they've added plumbing to the business. So whether you have heating needs, air quality for your indoor spaces, or plumbing needs now, 803-672-3224 or KrantzCooling.com. Give them a call today for any of your heating, cooling, plumbing needs.
Fellas, 2 words for you. Prostate exam. Did your butt just clench up? Are you imagining the finger right now? Well, you can relax. Prostate cancer screening starts with a simple, finger-free blood test. Around 1 in 8 men in the United States will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime. But that's no reason to reclench. When caught early, at localized or even regional stage, prostate cancer can have over a 99% 5-year relative survival rate. Did your tight end just relax? Good. If you're 40 or older and have a prostate, visit RelaxIt'sABloodTest.com to find out if a PSA blood test is right for you. The PSA blood test can be the first step in screening. Talk to your doctor to evaluate your risk, determine when to get tested, and discuss screening options and next steps. That's RelaxIt'sABloodTest.com. Sponsored by Novartis.
For appliances with Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
Come see the entire line of GE appliances at 1421 Atlas Road. Jeffers McGill offers the best customer service and lowest price on every GE make and model, including GE Profile, Monogram, and Cafe brands. Jeffers McGill and GE, your home team.
For appliances with Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
Are you considering a new roof or repairs but unsure where to start? Crescent Construction offers free roofing estimates to help you make informed decisions with ease. Our expert team is ready to assess your needs and provide comprehensive insights. Visit our website, CrescentCarolina.com, to learn more about our services and schedule your free estimate today. Trust us to guide you through the process with professionalism and care. Don't wait. Contact us today at CrescentCarolina.com.
Springtime is a great time for a new car, and State Credit Union is a great place to finance that new car. With rates as low as 4.25% APR and up to 90 days with no payment, you can drive what you love and keep some money in your pocket. Visit State Credit Union's website for details and to find a location near you, SCSCU.com. Visit one of State Credit Union's 8 Midlands branches today. Terms and conditions apply. Equal housing lender, federally insured by the NCUA. Don't miss out on this sweet deal from Grill Marks. Beginning this Friday at 9 a.m., visit 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals to get a $50 gift certificate to Grill Marks for just $25.
Start your day with Drake C. Toll.
I'm Drake Toll, on the air from 6 a.m. to 9 Eastern, getting you to work every day. To do that with Westwood One, the Oxford University of Names and Sports Media. Buckle up.
Then Black and Abdallah.
That shot was insane.
Is that what you would say on the air?
You're the play-by-play guy.
Abdallah being testy. All right, here we go.
And Westwood One Sports Night.
Stay on the line, get on the call, talk about whatever you want. That's what we're doing on Westwood One Sports Night.
Westwood One Sports Talk. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
What team sprung a leak this weekend? Sponsored by American Leak Detection on the Extra Point.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri with you here on your Wednesday on the Game. It's time for Who Sprung a Leak, brought to you by our friends over at American Leak Detection. And we'll stick on the topic of the NFL trade and free agency window that starts with the new league year coming up at 4 p.m. today. But a lot of moves already being made, setting up for that window coming up later on this afternoon. And the biggest one over the weekend was the Las Vegas Raiders trading Max Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for a first-round pick in this year and next year's draft. Well, unfortunately for the Raiders, once the Ravens got to evaluate Max Crosby the other day or yesterday, they didn't like what they saw. And again, he's coming off of an injury from a year ago, and they nixed the trade. So they get their picks back. And now the Raiders, who would have spent a lot of money on free agents, including signing Tyler Lindenbaum, do a huge deal from the Ravens to play center for them coming up over the next couple seasons. Now they got to figure out what to do with Max Crosby and all the money that he's still owed.
A bad thing, though, that he's going to be back with the Raiders for right now. I mean, he's a great player, number one. He adds to your defense. You're going to have, let's be honest, it's going to be Fernando Mendoza as the number one pick at quarterback. I mean, this is a team with better pieces and a new coach. I get it. There's a lot of money tied up to him, and I know that relationship is a little bit strained. So maybe you are looking to move on from him still. But is it really that bad of a thing to have him back?
Well, from a player standpoint, no, but it's the money that's the problem. And I don't even know how they negotiate this or what money they have to spend at this point, considering the fact they were expecting, the Ravens take them off their hands. They went out there and acquired a bunch of other free agents, especially on defense, to bolster that side of the football. And then you have the fractured relationship part of this because Max Crosby didn't like the way that the Raiders handled him at the end of last year, not allowing him to play, which they deemed for medical reasons. So I just think that for that relationship is too fractured to continue. Now you're in a situation because the Ravens, and I was talking with Terry earlier, and Terry said the Ravens' physical evaluations are maybe a little more strict than some teams in the league, but this does cast a bit of a dark cloud over Max Crosby in the eyes of other teams. I know the Cowboys were kind of looking at him as a potential option there, but I wonder, A, how many other teams still want him now, and B, if the Raiders are going to be able to get anything as good as they thought they were getting out of the Raiders now that he has this stigma attached to him of, well, he failed the physical against the Ravens. How's he going to do with these other teams?
And the other thing with the contract is, that deal's going to be that deal goes through 2029. So we're talking about 3 more years on that contract, and it's $91.5 million in total guarantees, and it carries a $35 million cap hit for 2026. So yes, it's a long. It's not just you're moving. It's easy to say let's move a great player, right? It's the money that really makes this thing complicated, because some teams can afford to take on that size of cap on the roster while others can't. And so, the Ravens were probably one of those teams that could, but then you have the injuries and whatnot. So yeah, that's a much tougher contract to move as a result. The money is one thing, but then you add in the failed physical and the injuries and whatnot that he's dealt with. That becomes a lot tougher. And at that point, you might need to just stick with him at this point. There's going to be a team out there that I think would want him, but ultimately it's the Raiders are a little bit tied up here now.
Well, the Ravens did need to address pass rush and defense as a whole, and they didn't waste any time getting back on the horse and putting themselves back out there, because they have signed Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals to a 4-year, $112 million deal earlier on this morning. Of course, he missed a lot of last year, but over the prior 2 seasons when he played all 17 games, 35 combined sacks. So while they didn't get Max Crosby, they certainly addressed their need for pass rush pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that was a guy that was him and Bengals management just did not see eye to eye last year. And I think that's also just when this guy's out there and now that he's under contract, I think he's going to do, phenomenal with the Ravens. I think if there's ever a player to get that's a nice, I don't want to call it consolation because Trey Hendrickson's a good player, but if there's a nice fallback option after Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson's it. And great player. And now that there's not going to be any, worry about, Trey Hendrickson not playing because he's not getting paid or whatever, or holding out, I mean, he should go out there and really add to the Ravens defense. So that's a nice bounce back after what happened with Crosby there.
So a lot of big moves being made already this week. Again, the new league year starts at 4 o'clock. Coming up today where all these trades and free agent signings will be finalized. Are there any moves outside of these two that we just talked about there that really stand out to you that you're maybe more intrigued by coming up this season?
Yeah, I think the big one, and it's not even really a big one, it's just more just for the comedic purposes of it. Geno Smith going back to the Jets is – so my brother's a big Jets fan, and
right.
I don't know how he's dealt with the misery for as long as he has. I texted him that yesterday. I sent him the news. I said Geno with 2 exclamation points, and that was it. And I can't say it on air, but he said something along the lines of, gosh darn it. You do the math on what he actually said there. But, yes, he was not thrilled. And, Geno Smith coming back to the Jets, I don't think many people had that on their bingo cards.
Yeah, they say you can't go home again, right? Well, he's going home. And, again, this past year with the Raiders did not go well. Now, again, he didn't have a good offensive line in front of him. That certainly didn't help, and the Raiders did address that with signing Tyler Linderbaum from the Ravens, as I mentioned a moment ago. But, yeah, I don't think anybody's looking at a Geno Smith that's on a bit of a downslide with an Aaron Glenn that's still trying to figure it out as a head coach for the first time and saying, yeah, that's the combination that's going to suddenly win you some games. So we'll see. At least he's familiar with the surroundings there.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, I'm looking at this article on Yahoo Sports with the winners and losers, and under the losers, and I would agree with this, the Dolphins obviously let Tua Tagovailoa go. They are going to, pay, that contract, which is going to be roughly around $99 million. It's crazy, but Malik Willis signing with the Dolphins, that's their next option at quarterback. 3 years, $67.5 million deal. $45 million guaranteed. So this feels to me, the Dolphins have had some bad contracts over the years. This one feels like one that probably, I don't want to say probably, but it could certainly head towards that trend of just another bad deal for the Dolphins.
Well, and look, this is something that we've seen a lot in the league over the years. And Malik Willis has played very limitedly in his time in the NFL between the Titans and the Packers. But when he has played well, but it's still a very small sample size. And, I think about guys like Brock Osweiler when he filled in for Peyton Manning in that Super Bowl season and then got the insane contract with the Houston Texans that didn't end up panning out. Like, we see this happen a lot where these guys show some flashes of potential when they come in as backups and have to take over the starting role and then get really big contracts with another team to be the guy. And I'm interested to see how Malik Willis does, but again, it's still a very small sample size that we've seen of him in the NFL so far. We don't know how he can handle shouldering the load of being the full-time starter for an entire season yet.
Like, you really look at last year, there's really one game where it's like, yeah, he was great. I mean, he played well against the Ravens, even though the Packers lost by nearly 20 points. I mean, 18 of 21 passing, 288 yards, a touchdown, no picks, and then he rushes for 2 touchdowns. But if that's what you're really going off of, I feel like that's just a mistake. And again, I think there's a lot of belief in the potential of what he can do. Obviously, they wouldn't have signed him to such a massive deal if they didn't believe in what he can do. So we'll see. I mean, we could be wrong. It could be a big surprise, but I think when you think of NFL starting quarterbacks, I don't think Malik Willis is typically the first name that comes to mind.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting for sure, but it's been a pretty chaotic week with these free agent signings and trades, and again, still time in the next couple of hours to get some things done, but the Max Crosby thing definitely taking the headlines for the week so far. Jack, enjoy your very busy day out there in Nashville, and I don't know, we'll see what we have to talk about from a game standpoint tomorrow.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it.
We'll come back, wrap up the hour, talk some racing with Jen Jensen from the early game as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head here with you on your Wednesday on the Game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
The Game phone lines at 803-404-6100. Sponsored by AAA Heating and Air. Now offering 12-month payment plans on all HVAC or electrical repairs with no credit check. Online at callAAAtoday.com.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
Whether right or wrong, the Baltimore Ravens backing out of the Max Crosby trade absolutely screws the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders were set to supercharge their rebuild with 2 first-round picks added to the mix. It makes no sense for the Raiders to keep Max Crosby. Now, they don't get those first-rounders. I still think they're going to trade Crosby, but they're not going to get anything close to the haul they got from Baltimore. This is brutal for the Raiders. I'm Nick Costos.
Is your everyday congestion preventing you from enjoying life's big moments? Try Vicks Sinex Saline today and get yourself back in the action. Vicks Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion with a gentle, ultra-fine mist. Sinex Saline's drug-free, no-mess formula instantly moisturizes and soothes dry, irritated nasal passages for quick and effective relief. Get back to enjoying life's biggest moments to the fullest without having to worry about everyday congestion holding you back. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hey, Joy. Oh, you are glowing.
Oh, hey. More like Mira Joyed. That Miralax helped me go. I was so backed up. Tried mega coffees, prune juice, everything. Then Miralax. And hello, gentle relief without the harsh side effects.
Ooh, how does it work?
It works naturally with the water in your body for constipation relief. Find Miralax today at your local retailer.
Use as directed for occasional constipation.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hey, Joy. Oh, you are glowing.
Oh, hey. More like Mira Joyed. That Miralax helped me go. I was so backed up. Tried mega coffees, prune juice, everything. Then Miralax. And hello, gentle relief without the harsh side effects.
Ooh, how does it work?
It works naturally with the water in your body for constipation relief. Find Miralax today at your local retailer.
Use as directed for occasional constipation.
Oh, yeah?
The Extra Point with Tyler Head.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
And welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head wrapping up hour number 2 here on your Wednesday on the Game, which means it's time to talk some racing with Jen Jensen from the early game. And Jen, for the first time this season, we're not talking about Tyler Reddick winning a race, as Ryan Blaney picks up the win in Phoenix on Sunday, overcoming quite a bit of adversity in the process.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, yes, it was exciting to see somebody other than Reddick win, even though the 4-peat would have been like a really incredible thing. But you're right, Blaney, had a couple loose wheels a couple times. It seemed like, he, I think, passed, 49 cars in the race overall to get the victory. So what a great day for Blaney and his mustache.
Yeah, the mustache is continuing to go viral as he's rocking the Tom Selleck look there and getting into victory lane for the second time in a row at Phoenix, because he did win the fall race there last year, which kind of gets lost in the shuffle of what happened with the championship and all that. But yeah, a day where he had a couple of mistakes on pit road with some tire problems and had to keep fighting his way through the field. I mean, while Bell led more laps, I think Ryan Blaney still had the overall best car, and obviously you see that by the way he was able to slice his way through the field and got up towards the front at the very end and was able to hold him off. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. But good start to the season for Ryan Blaney, now sitting himself second in points behind Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, and really a good start even for Christopher Bell. And in fact, post-race, I know Blaney said he really felt like probably Bell was one of the best cars, on the track. And it's just another example of how you have a good day and it can really make a difference in the points race, because Bell moved up like 18 spots in the points and he's now 6th in the playoff points.
Yeah, and now that we've started the normal tracks here, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Darlington coming up in about a week and a half, which we'll be excited to be out there and go see ourselves. You get a real sense of who the true contenders are going to be, because the first 2 races on drafting tracks are wild cards. Road courses are kind of the same way at COTA the prior week, but this race, this upcoming weekend and the next few weeks will really tell us who I think are going to be consistent front runners this upcoming year. And obviously Team Penske looked really strong on Sunday. Both Logano and Austin Cindric ended up crashing out, but they both had good cars, and Blaney was able to complete a weekend sweep in a way for Team Penske, because you had the IndyCar race with Joseph Newgarden on Saturday and then Blaney winning on Sunday.
Yeah, what a great celebration, the 60th anniversary of Penske, to be able to pull that sweep. And it was, again, fun to see the crossover with the IndyCar being on Saturday and Cup race being on Sunday. You saw certain IndyCar drivers in the pits, or at least, up in the box for some of the drivers, the Penske drivers. And it was just, I just love all this cross-promotion and looking at some of the ratings. It's working. It really is working for fans. Yeah,
it was a really good weekend for both fronts, especially IndyCar, as they benefited from, being there alongside NASCAR. They had a good race on Saturday, which I enjoyed, watching as well. But, this was, and I know we had the higher horsepower and less downforce for COTA the other week. I don't know if that tells you as much when it comes to a road course, but I really saw dividends this past weekend when you couple that with the tire wear. For somebody like Blaney, who did have probably the best car, to be able to cut his way through the field multiple times, I think it's a really good sign as we go to the Darlingtons and the Bristols and the Dovers and stuff like that, moving this direction with what they're doing with the car this year, I think is going to give us a lot of good racing.
I agree. I think it was really good. I think Goodyear continues to give a more aggressive tire, more fall off. I listened to Brad Keselowski talking a little bit about the tire wear and all of that, and he said, he thinks that they're really bringing it all the time, and they're having a little bit fun with the numbers as far as pushing the limits, because the teams are going to do just that.
Sure.
But if that's what the drivers want. They want those tires to be aggressive. They want them to be on the edge. And so, maybe they're taking a little more control in their racing results.
Well, and I did find it funny how Goodyear, through their social media channels and stuff, was very much getting ahead of it, because you could see, through practice on Saturday and stuff, that tires were going to be an issue throughout the weekend. But they're like, hey, listen, we tell them what they should set their pressures at. If they don't follow it, that's on them. And of course, you're gonna put it as low as you can, because you want that advantage, you want all that grip. And yeah, throughout the day on Sunday, we saw some really hard hits too, like Chase Briscoe, nasty slap into the wall, a lot of tire problems throughout the day. But again, that's the teams pushing the limit, and that's what happens when you push it sometimes, is you go over that edge.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what happens. And in that one interview that I saw with Kozlowski, he said whatever their suggested pressures are, it's kind of a joke in the garage. We drop it by 2. And that's what we're going to run at. So, but yeah, there definitely were some heavy hits and there were some tire issues. But again, I think the racing was really, really good, and I think it bodes well for the season. I think we have an exciting season ahead.
Well, Denny Hamlin on his podcast earlier on this week, he is anticipating somewhere in the neighborhood of like 4 seconds to fall off coming up next weekend at Darlington, which sign me up. That sounds like a real fun time if that does end up coming to fruition with a lot of chaos, a lot of comers and goers and all that kind of stuff. And I really hope that he's correct on that.
I do too. I mean, it's always good racing there, but if it can be enhanced at all, I mean, what a great time for all the drivers and the fans. So I'm actually really excited about Darlington. I know I love the racing in Vegas, but, I love Darlington.
Well, Vegas is coming up this weekend. It'll be the first true 1.5 miles of the season because Atlanta's obviously a drafting track. And this will, I think, tell us who has the most power, right? I think this past weekend was a good indication of who's, got good setups and who's got good handling. Like, power is going to be the name of the game this weekend because it is going to be one of the faster tracks you see all season. And again, you expect the usual suspects of the Penske's and the Gibbs and the Hendricks to really show out this weekend. But I'm interested to see who of them looks the best.
Yeah, I am too. Is somebody going to come to the front? And I'm anxious to see some of the young guns. Again, you see Hocevar just kind of dancing around and doing well, and it's like, how's he going to fare at this track? So I'm looking forward to, yes, who are the heavy hitters, but then who are going to be some of the surprises this weekend?
Well, and for somebody like SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, who's still 6th in points after overcoming a lot of adversity himself on Sunday, can he keep this momentum of a strong start of the season going as well? Because, again, it's about consistency, not just winning and getting in anymore.
Yeah, and really in the first 3 of the 4 races, he's led laps, which, again, ovals are a new territory for him. So for him to be doing as well as he is, you don't cut him out this season, I don't think.
Certainly not. Excited to see what happens this weekend, and we'll be previewing Darlington this time next week.
I know. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Tyler.
Appreciate it as always, Jen. Jen Jensen there from the early game joining me on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Coming up next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. We'll get back into the Lamont Paris conversation here coming up next here on the game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com.
You never know when a moment might become a memory. With same-day glasses at iMart Express and 2 pairs of single vision starting at under $40. Or 2 pairs of progressives for under $80. We're here to make sure you're ready anytime they do. From the most mundane Monday mornings to the most surprising Saturday nights. Get everyday savings for every moment. iMart Express. Get glasses. Go see.
Hey guys, Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central here to make sure your business and property parking lots are kept available from any unwanted cars taking up your spots with Schroeder's Towing. For instance, you're coming in hot to the game studios for your show and you park next door in an unauthorized lot with signage that was provided for free from Schroeder's Towing. Next thing you know, the show is in the books and your car is out of the lot. It really is that simple. That's a true story. Call Schroeder's today and keep those unwanted cars out of your lots. Online at schroederstowing.net.
Just dial pound 250 and use the keyword tow truck.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
This is the sound of Jack, buzz cutting his way to a small fortune. To Jack, every time he cuts his own hair, that's $50 right in his pocket. If Jack sees DIY buzz cuts as a saving strategy, Wells Fargo is right behind him. And with their mobile app, tracking his savings is easy. Oh, ouch. However you make money work, we can work with that.
Mobile carriers' message and data rates may apply. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Are you getting the most from your woods? If you're a forest landowner, chances are you need the technical assistance of a forestry professional. We'll come to your land, walk it with you, and make professional recommendations for maximizing the health, productivity, sustainability, and potential of your forest based on your vision. You may even have cut over, eroded, or otherwise open land. Our foresters can prescribe the most cost-effective tree planting plan for you, including the best species to plant and the most appropriate spacing. If you own 10 or more more acres and don't already have a management plan for your land, call the South Carolina Forestry Commission. We'll give you free, yes, free professional advice about managing your forest land and optimizing it for your goals, whether it's wildlife enhancement, aesthetic beauty, recreation, timber, or all of the above. Visit our website at scfc.gov to learn more.
South Carolina Forest. They'll grow on you.
Sponsored by the South Carolina Forestry Commission, South Carolina Broadcasters Association, and this station.
There's a new kind of welcome waiting for you at the Haven Harley-Davidson, and right now is the perfect time to ride. For a limited time, get 0 down, 2.5% APR, and up to $2,500 in customer cash on the 2025 Road Glide, Street Glide, and Street Glide Ultra. For riders navigating a bit of transition right now, know there's always a place to land. If you're looking for a place that rides with you, supports you, and knows what your Harley means to you, the Haven Harley-Davidson would be honored to be part of your journey. Discover more at 866-768-5095 or thehavenharley.com.
Discover the best of burger sophistication at Grill Marks, located at 711 Gervais Street in Columbia's dynamic Vista area. This exceptional burger venue redefines dining with gourmet smash burgers crafted from a unique blend of certified Angus beef. Vegetarians and gluten-free guests will be thrilled with options like unburgers featuring grilled chicken or impossible patties. Indulge in opulent hand-spun milkshakes, including extravagant freak shakes and adult shake tails with liquor or craft beer. Complement these treats with signature cocktails and an extensive variety of local craft beers. Enjoy enticing deals: $2 Prosecco Tuesdays, Wing Wednesdays, and $4 margaritas on Thursdays. Grill Marks promises an unforgettable dining experience and vibe for every visitor. Don't miss out on this sweet deal from Grill Marks. Beginning this Friday at 9 a.m., visit 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals to get a $50 gift certificate to Grill Marks for just $25.
Your home for the Gamecocks. 1075 The Game. WNKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station. The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 1075 The Game app.
Oh, 11 o'clock on your Wednesday morning. Welcome in Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark along with you here. Opening day of the SEC Men's Tournament. Unfortunately, about 12 hours from now, I think Carolina's still going to be playing. Their game's set to tip off at 9:30-ish, really like 9:45. Chris, are you going to be able to stay up for this? I know that's past your bedtime.
Ooh, I got called out. You know what? I was going to call myself out. Yeah, I'm going to watch some of the game. I'll be up.
Maybe not till the end, depending on how it goes.
I mean, if we're sitting around waiting and it's 10:08 and this thing still hadn't tipped, it's gonna be iffy. I'll admit.
I'm hoping it's not that late. Again, I'm kind of, when they advertise the tip time, it's usually like 10 to 15 minutes after. Also depends on how the game before it goes. But yeah, gonna be a late night. Props to Jack. Elijah's going to be joining us at 11:15 to preview this game coming up a little bit as well. So they're going to have a long night ahead of them. That's for sure.
Buy or sell? Does Chris make it through halftime?
Ooh, see if the game tips at 9:45, halftime would be somewhere around 10:30. No, sell.
Yeah, because then you got to actually get through the 20 minutes of halftime as well. He won't have the bright lights of the TV keeping him going. So you're selling?
Yeah, I'm selling.
Okay, all right.
What about you?
You know what? You know how we say we're going to go against the odds? This would be going against the odds. I'm going to buy that Chris makes it through. But then falls asleep about midway through the second half. So if this was a girls' game, about when it'd be going from the third quarter to the fourth quarter, that's about when Chris will be out.
Yeah, we might have to ask you, like, what's the last thing you remember seeing? Type thing.
Yeah. No, well, I feel like I can't vote. Because then I could try to manipulate it.
Yeah, you're in control. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhat. And you get sleepy and just fall. That was going to be my follow-up is like, am I saying I'm sleepy, I'm turning the TV off, or do I fall asleep?
Yeah.
You know,
There's a difference.
There is a difference,
Yeah,
but I'll have to recuse myself from this case.
There you go. Again, we'll talk to Elijah in Nashville coming up, or at least on his way to Nashville, coming up here in about 15 minutes to preview the matchup tonight, because they are taking on Oklahoma, a team they'd beaten earlier on this year. But, of course, the news yesterday, as we talked about, Lamont Paris being confirmed to return for 2026 and 2027. I think we wondered, okay, how does Jeremiah Donati go about addressing this? Is there a press conference at some point? Is it just a written statement? Well, at least for last night, we did get a written statement that kind of reads the way you would expect it to, talking about the confidence in Coach Paris, the belief that he's going to be able to turn things around. But real specifically here, I want to touch on a couple of sentences. He says, to reach our goals, it will require an increased level of investment across the program that matches these expectations. We're committing to making these critical investments. Additionally, it requires an ongoing assessment and evaluation to ensure we are moving forward and making the necessary improvements. So he's saying the thing that we know needs to be said. They're like, hey, we need money to make this happen. Like, we believe in Paris as a coach, but we're not going to get it done with the budget we've been operating at. We need y'all to write some more checks. We need to be more in the middle ground of the SEC here. And it seems if he's making this decision to bring him back, that they have confidence that that's going to happen.
You know what stood out to me the most? And I'm not glossing over what you said in that statement, Tyler. That has been the most obvious thing. That's the thing that's been talked about the most, right? Whatever side of the aisle you fall on, you may be in the camp of how could he win? They've been towards the bottom, at the bottom of the league in NIL spend, which is a fact, right? They are not. And it does depend on who you talk to as to where exactly they are, because some of these numbers are kind of hard to get. But we know that South Carolina is not a big spender. I think it's safe to say they're not even a middle-of-the-pack spender. So whether or not you fall on that side or you fall on the side of it doesn't matter as much, field a better team, I think the thing, like, that's known. The thing that stood out to me in this statement is the next sentence. Additionally, right, which gets your attention, it requires an ongoing assessment and evaluation to ensure we're moving forward, making the necessary improvements. Alongside these investments, it is my expectation we'll see significant improvements in the short term. So to me, you go, what does that mean, right? And I think it's something that, like, it's what we've been talking about for quite a while. This is a problem that you're going to have to spend more to get better results. We know that. You can't just throw money at the problem and say that's the only part of the solution. And so it's pretty clear that in evaluating the program, Jeremiah Donati has said, yeah, we're going to invest in the program further. And actually, he's proven that. You know, football this offseason after a poor season made some big investments. Baseball, poor season last year, they made more investments. Now, we might not get the return on that. We'll continue talking about that later, I'm sure.
Yep.
But you can't deny that they invested this offseason from an NIL personnel standpoint. They absolutely did. I think we'll see the same in basketball. But Donati's not just saying, hey, we're going to throw some money at the problem, all good. Going to be the same head coach. We know that. What are the changes beyond that? And I don't think we have answers to that. But to me, with this, with some other things we're kind of tracking and hearing behind the scenes, there's going to be some, whatever you want to call it, tweaks, shakeups. We don't know what form that's going to take yet, but Wes, I think there are going to be some other structural changes within the program alongside an additional investment to try to right the ship.
Yeah, and I think what Donati is pretty clearly alluding to here is something we had mentioned, at some point in this lead up that we had heard, it kind of being compared to football this past offseason. It wasn't just, hey, increase NIL, everything else stays the same. For football, that meant, wholesale changes pretty much on the offensive side of the ball. New play caller, new O-line coach, new running backs coach, a bunch of changes over there. Some changes that I think are more behind the scenes that, maybe just haven't gotten as much attention or we don't even know about. Right down. I was told that, hey, football, everything was evaluated right down to what equipment is in the weight room, for example. So I was basically told, hey, basketball is going to be the same. It's whatever the basketball equivalent of everything we saw happen in football, where everything gets evaluated, that's going to happen in men's basketball. And, I think it is worth pointing out, they did increase the resources year over year for this past season as well. There is a graphic floating around. I saw it from Chris Mahler. I think the numbers are from this OU Insider account. And, we've discussed some of these numbers here and there. Like Chris said, first of all, you have some semantics involved with some of these numbers. Like, do you count, like if I'm Eli Ellis and I have an agent who goes out and gets XYZ because I have 1 million followers, do we count that towards the spend or not? But maybe we are counting outside NIL that the school gets for a player. There are different ways you can structure how you talk about how much a roster is making. And, it's going to be very hard to get accurate info on, like, what's the actual roster budget here? And to me, the budget is probably the best way, if you had the exact information, to compare in terms of what we're talking about, your resources, right? And budget is kind of like, all right, we feel good about if we're going to go give this point guard $1 million, that however we have to structure it, whether it's rev share, whether it's the school being like, hey, we got Firehouse Subs ready to sponsor you, we can meet those needs, right? We can meet that demand. So, but we don't have the roster budgets for everybody. I do think that graphic that is floating around, based on what I have kind of gathered separately, is pretty accurate. I spoke to someone who I'd talked to about this stuff, and I said, hey, is this right? And they were like, pretty dang close. The thing about Kentucky spending 22 mil, that's pretty widely accepted at this point. The thing about South Carolina being at the bottom or in the conversation with, maybe one or two other schools at the bottom, that's pretty well accepted at this point. The other thing I go to, guys, though, is this past season, to get into that, like, middle clump of schools, I guess you would say, about 10 mil, give or take, was kind of the budget you wanted. And I think for South Carolina, the key is going to be figuring out what the market's going to be this year. What was 10 mil this past year, it's going to be different, give or take, next season. So how do you kind of adjust, not based on last year's numbers, but based on what is going to happen moving forward? And can you just get in that middle ground? And I think that's where South Carolina needs to be. You never want to see these graphics, if you're the University of South Carolina, where it says, hey, you have the worst job in SEC men's basketball, or hey, you have the worst funding. That nobody, like, if you're in the administration, I feel like that's the type of thing that makes your stomach hurt a little bit when you see it. So there will be increased investment, but what does that look like? And are you able to make it work from a financial standpoint, where it also puts you more in that middle of the pack, but also you're not just throwing money at the problem either, which it really seems like is what Kentucky tried to do.
Yeah, and to the Kentucky point, just because you have the most expensive roster doesn't guarantee success, and they're certainly not happy with where Mark Pope is at with that program in year number 2 as of right now. But you give yourself a better opportunity with seemingly better players if you do have more money to spend. And this goes back to Jeremiah Donati's belief in Lamont Paris. He notes it in this in this statement last night, going back to 2 years ago, where they won 26 games. They were in contention for the SEC. They made the tournament. He won Coach of the Year. Like, there's belief that this guy knows ball. This guy knows how to evaluate talent. We just need to give him more resources to open up the pool of talent that's available to him even more, because Carolina had what they had because that's what they could afford, seemingly. They weren't out there, dealing with point guards that were asking for $2.5 million a year, because that was just not within their price range. They had to spread that money out throughout the entire team. So, and again, even if you got to $10 million, that's still not going to put you at the very top, but allows you to enter into conversations with even more higher level players that can seemingly help your team out, assuming that Lamont Paris gets the talent evaluation right with who he decides to bring in.
Well, and there's layers to all this. You have to, I'm always saying, if I am a Power 4 college head coach, I'm sleeping outside the door of my AD asking for resources constantly.
Yeah.
And so this offseason, football, for instance, made a really big push, and everybody got on the same page of here's what we've got to do to be competitive. And not that they haven't had resources in the past, right? But like there's another step to take, and things went pretty well in terms of the funding this offseason, but that wasn't the end of it. There were also, you just went into it, Wes, what else are you doing in the evaluation process, in the program? And so with basketball, you got to look at it in a very similar fashion. You've got to make a push for the money. You have to have an administration who's willing to push, and things seem to be more on the same page now with that than maybe they were in the past for whatever reason. But you've got to make some other changes. You can have the money. You still got to recruit the players. It is still recruiting. And then you have to make sure you have the right evaluations, because there is a sense that even with what's been had the past couple seasons, there's some questions, fair ones, on roster construction. So you have to, how do we improve roster construction and evaluation and recruiting? What are we doing from a coaching and a prep standpoint? And then do we have the resources to actually deploy to make sure all that's maximized? So all those things have to work together to get this thing turned around.
Yeah, Tyler, I think we got a little bit more meat on the bone on this, by the way. I know we got to hit a break, but I got a little bit more on that.
Well, we got to talk to Elijah coming up next, so we can rope into this conversation as well as they get prepared to take on Oklahoma tonight in the opening round of the SEC men's tournament. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs on your Wednesday here on The Game.
Wow, what a play! The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
Friday, April 3rd, the Spring Golf Classic at Charwood in West Columbia with our buddies Rock and Daniel Lucas. And we have Saki's Morning Libations Bar before tee-off. Also, the classic onion sausage presented by the Lexington Gamecock Club. Yeah, I know you're going to ask. We have the golf gun. All that Friday, April 3rd. Again, $400 a team, $100 for an individual. 803-755-2000 and press number 2. April 3rd. It's the Spring Golf Classic from The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
All right, everybody, let's tell you about our friends over at Integrated Media. I mentioned yesterday on the program that they are doing a great job with conference room solutions for your business. So if you're somebody out there who you go in your conference room, you bring your team in, and it's just not set up well. You're running all over the place trying to get tech going. Things aren't working. You don't have a great setup. You're having all sorts of technical problems. Reach out to the team over at Integrated Media to check out their custom conference room solutions for you. 803-948-8327. IntegratedMediaInc.com. Video conferencing for Zoom meetings, Teams, Google Meets. Adding a dedicated camera and soundbar solution into your conference rooms. Their customers are absolutely loving it, and the best part, it works well. Super, super easy to use. Anybody can operate it. That's Michael, Nathan, the team over at Integrated Media, 803-948-8327. Reach out to them today.
Get ready to shamrock your St. Paddy's Day with festivities at O'Hara's Public House in Lexington. Join them Saturday, March 14th for an all-day party under the Big Top, starting at noon with Brandon Mullis. As the sun sets, local favorites Prettier Than Matt and Tokyo Joe will take the stage for a special joint set from 6 to 10 that you absolutely don't want to miss. But the celebration doesn't stop there. Return on St. Patrick's Day, Tuesday, March 17th for Columbia's most authentic Irish experience. Enjoy another all-day event of delicious food, lively fun, and fantastic music featuring the Cash Money Experience. Don't miss out on the ultimate St. Paddy's Day parties at Columbia's only Irish pub, O'Hara's Public House in Lexington. For more details on all the Shamrock Festival events, visit o'harasph.com. Cheers to a full day of Irish charm.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing, and for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Liner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Mid-State Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Mid-State Twins.
If you have a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
Springtime is a great time for a new car, and State Credit Union is a great place to finance that new car. With rates as low as 4.25% APR and up to 90 days with no payment, you can drive what you love and keep some money in your pocket. Visit State Credit Union's website for details and to find a location near you. SCSCU.com. Visit one of State Credit Union's 8 Midlands branches today. Terms and conditions apply. Equal housing lender. Federally insured by the NCUA.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. Visit CordellCordell.com.
1201 Main Street, Columbia.
Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app. Road tripping with the Gamecocks through March. Elijah Gamble covering the USC men and the SEC tournament in Nashville. Sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spas Lexington on the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
And welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark along with you. Joined now on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines by our guy Elijah Campbell on the scene in Nashville for the SEC Men's Tournament, which gets rolling in about an hour here. But South Carolina will play Oklahoma late tonight in the final game of day number 1. And Elijah, I don't know how much we're going to get in the actual game, but they do have an opportunity to win and advance through the second round because this is an Oklahoma team. They played it earlier on in the year. And given the Paris news of yesterday, I got to imagine they're probably feeling a little bit loose and free today compared to how they felt over the past couple of weeks.
Oh, for sure. I think there's probably less pressure, for them to play for their coach's job, but still at least an opportunity on the line. I don't know if that presents just pressure or playing with the feeling of nothing to lose. But look, as bad as the season's been, you ended the regular season on a high note. If you're able to get a win against Oklahoma, you get the idea that you get to spoil somebody else's season because Oklahoma, because their 4-game streak, has kind of nuzzled their way into the NCAA tournament discussion, on the bubble. They're not really last 4 in or first 4 out, maybe on that next 4 out, but they're kind of, saying, hey, don't forget about us. If they win 3 games this weekend, Oklahoma maybe gets considered, but they don't get to those 3 opportunities if you, eliminate them on night 1. So you can definitively end somebody's season tonight and play a little bit of a spoiler. So there's still a few things here at play.
Yeah, Elijah, Chris, thanks for joining us on the road, man. It's been an interesting, rocky, up and down season for Oklahoma because, lost to the Gamecocks early, lost a bunch of games in a row. Now they've won. They've heated up a little bit. 4 straight to close the regular season on the bubble, next 4 out type of team, as you mentioned. So they're going to be motivated to come in and get a win. But let's dive into the, minutia of this game. I always love hearing your thoughts on some of these individual matchups. And these teams have obviously seen each other earlier in the season, but maybe a different type of team now from Oklahoma. What do you have your eye on? Maybe 1, 2, 3 things that are really going to set the course of how this game's going to go just from a personnel or, scheme standpoint?
Yeah, 3 things, Chris. I think the first thing is how are you going to be able to guard Nigel Pack? I think that's the player that when I look at Oklahoma and you look at what their ceiling is, you look at how they've become a top 25 offense in college basketball, it really is the strength of their three-point shooting. Like, they're solid at, taking care of the ball. They're an above-average to good offensive rebounding team, but they're a top 30 three-point shooting team in college basketball, and 44% of their shots are from three. And then you go to, okay, well, who's taking a majority of those? And then it pops out pretty clearly on the page. Nigel Pack's taken 225 of those shots this year. He's hit 45% of them. If he's not hitting threes, they're not winning basketball games. And when they played at CLA back in January, he was 0 for 7 from the three-point line. It is going to be a point of emphasis for Porter Moser and that Oklahoma team to try to get Nigel Pack running off screens, dribble handoffs, any way they can to get him an open look. And for South Carolina, you just got to really force him off the three-point line. He's an average two-point shooter. He's about 50%, but he also doesn't really get to the free throw line at all. I think he's only taken about 46 free throws this season. So force him to try to have to be a little more aggressive, to put the ball on the floor. Don't just allow catch-and-shoot opportunities. And it's an Oklahoma team, too, for my second point of emphasis, is really make them to give the ball up. They're below average. I mean, they're outside the top 250 when it comes to assist rate. A lot of their points do come on straight-line drives. Sometimes Nigel Pack is shooting off of the dribble, but if you can just stay in between ball and man, which is usually one of the classic Lamont Paris defensive coach principles, they haven't been as good at that this year as they have in previous years with Lamont coaching this team. But staying between ball and man and making them have to play a game that they're not so comfortable playing. They score a lot in isolation, don't necessarily require the last pass to set up the next shot. Making them play in a way that's going to be a little uncomfortable is going to be big in this game. And the last thing, for me, it's have Meechie Johnson play with a sense of, hey, dude, this is your last game. Go out, try to score 30, be aggressive. If he's incredibly aggressive and he gets to the free throw line a lot, like he has in SEC play, I mean, he's drawing the second most fouls per 40 minutes of anybody in SEC play. He is sixth in SEC play in free throw rate. If Meechie gets really aggressive, gets to the basket, gets those guards for Oklahoma in a little bit of foul trouble, then it's really going to make Oklahoma have to be reactionary for 40 minutes in this game. And I just don't know how comfortable they are doing that.
Elijah, you're reading my mind, man. Kind of lost in, a forgotten season or a lost season is just how well Meechie has played at times and certainly down the stretch. Got to have the memorable moment hitting the game winner at the end of the regular season. Just what is it about Meechie, I guess, down the stretch here that's allowed him to do what he has been able to do in your eyes?
I think it's more of a fearlessness to attack the basket. Like, before Meechie came back, you think of Meechie as, like, the relentless three-point shooter, spark plug kind of player. I think about the deep three against Kentucky a couple of years ago when Kentucky was the top 10 team and you storm the floor and you get to do all that fun stuff. And you think of Meechie as the guy who hasn't seen a three-pointer that he didn't like, right? But this year, I mean, he's still taking a fair amount of threes. He's taking 169. But in relation to some of his peers in the league, someone like Nigel Pack who's taken significantly more, he's getting a lot more shots at the basket. His usage rate has gone up. I mean, he's getting third in the SEC in usage rate, 15th in the whole league in percentage of shots. So he's still asked to do a whole lot more. But this year, too, he's finishing at the basket, I think, a lot better. He's drawing more fouls. And at the beginning of the season, too, Wes, you could tell he was asked to do something he's never had to do in his career. And that is kind of be a full-on facilitating point guard at times because he never really recruited one out of the portal. Well, in SEC play this year, his assist rate is 34.7% in the SEC. He's accounting for 34.7% of the assists while he is on the floor. The highest he has ever had in his career going into this season was 2 years ago when it was 23%. That is an 11% increase in assist rate. What you've seen really is him being a much better facilitator than at any point in the career, and really that kind of stems from that aggressiveness earlier that gets him to the free throw line, that gets him shots at the basket. I think he's kind of unlocked something where he's always had a pretty good quick first step, but I think there's more of a fearlessness required to be able to make those sort of plays later on in the play. And I think Meechie's finally had that click a little bit over the course of like these last 2 or 3 months.
real quick about last 2 minutes here. Norton Capich was kind of a ghost for most of SEC play, but it's come on strong with 25 points over the last 2 games. What do you attribute that to, and how big of a factor could he be tonight against Oklahoma?
I think the thing was he probably took a little time to adjust to some of the offensive players that get to play in the SEC. His strength at San Diego was defense and team defense. He's a really good team defender, but sometimes you got to be at least not get cooked on defense individually. I think there was a real acclimation period. He really struggled early, and now those 3-point shots falling a little bit. I think that's helping him come along in terms of discovering what his role is. But he really is like the one big on this team, big in air quotes, that is perfect for what Lamont Paris likes to do defensively, because he's really good at hedging out on ball screens. He's really the only big that does that. B.J. Mack was really good at that a few years ago. Norton Capich is the only kind of like-for-like fill that B.J. Mack has been able to fill whenever he's been good enough defensively to get the type of minutes you're seeing him have now.
And before we let you go, of course, we got to thank our friends over at Griffin Pools and Spas for allowing you to be out there in Nashville. Again, we were out there last week doing our own live show. We can tell you how great they are, but fill us in on the latest with Griffin Pools and Spas.
Oh, absolutely. No better time to call Griffin Pools and Spas than right now. I'm sitting outside Nick Gill's Marvelous. All I can think about is how much I would love a Bullfrog or Tropic Seas or Generations or Marquee Spa. And if it's with Griffin Pools and Spas, I would like to save $950 on all those spa purchases and, of course, get a $500 discount on the above-ground pools. It's the 50th anniversary sale, so go ahead and help them celebrate their 50th anniversary. Improve your pool and spa situation. Get yourself ready for summer by hitting them up from Griffin Pools and Spas.
Well, man, enjoy it and stay caffeinated. It's going to be a late night.
Oh, I just got to take like a 2-hour nap, so we're about to go back into hibernation for a little bit.
There you go. Elijah Campbell live on the scene out in Nashville for the SEC Men's Tournament. And, hey, if they win tonight, maybe we'll talk to him coming up again tomorrow as well. We'll continue on with the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on the other side here on your Wednesday on The Game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Everybody loves streaming till you have to pay for it. Just download the 107.5 The Game app and stream us for free.
There's a new kind of welcome waiting for you at the Haven Harley-Davidson, and right now is the perfect time to ride. For a limited time, get 0 down, 2.5% APR, and up to $2,500 in customer cash on the 2025 Road Glide, Street Glide, and Street Glide Ultra. For riders navigating a bit of transition right now, know there's always a place to land. If you're looking for a place that rides with you, supports you, and knows what your Harley means to you, the Haven Harley-Davidson would be honored to be part of your journey. Discover more at 866-768-5095 or thehavenharley.com.
Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
Want to unlock the power of athlete marketing to grow your business? Garnet Trust has recently launched a business membership program, making it easier than ever for your business to work directly with a USC student athlete. Visit garnettrust.com today or call 803-250-1765 to see your business boom.
Get a free second pair of glasses with insurance at iMart Express. Now with an upgraded selection of over 150 frames to choose from. Pick one for when you're busy doing nothing, and one for when you're up for anything. Plus, with free same-day speed, go from booking an eye exam to walking out with new glasses in a blink. So you can take your vision benefits further, faster. iMart Express. Get glasses, go see.
For appliances with Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
Come see the entire line of Whirlpool appliances at 1421 Atlas Road. Whirlpool offers bigger, better, and more efficient appliances, and Jeffers McGill offers the best in customer service and low prices. Jeffers McGill and Whirlpool, your home team.
For appliances with Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
The Gant family with Pioneer Tree Service has been taking care of trees in Columbia and surrounding areas for over 48 years. Pioneer Tree Service provides tree and shrub removal, pruning and thinning, tree planting, cabling and bracing, raising tree canopies, stump grinding and removal, storm damage services, property cleaning and grading, right-of-way maintenance, and more. They also provide 24-hour emergency tree removal. They can also handle the removal of diseased and dead trees before an emergency happens. Call them today for a free estimate. 803-794-8253. The Gant family and their team at Pioneer Tree Service can be trusted to provide professional and quality tree services with affordable pricing for residential or commercial jobs. Ashton Smith called Pioneer Tree Service and said they came when she was leaving for work, and when she got home, the tree was gone as if it was never there. She was so impressed with Pioneer Tree Service, she will definitely use them again. Here's one of the Gant girls, Madison Gant.
Call us today for a free estimate at 803-794-8253 or check us out online at pioneertreesc.com.
Don't miss out on this sweet deal from Grill Marks. Beginning this Friday at 9 a.m., visit 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals to get a $50 gift certificate to Grill Marks for just $25.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent are required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text HIM to 215-215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text HIM to 215-215. That's HIM to 215-215.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Paid for by Adaptive Health. The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, Wes, and Chris with you on your Wednesday here on the Game. And as we just talked about with Elijah, men's basketball in action tonight, taking on Oklahoma. Pregame coverage starting at 9 o'clock for a 9:30-ish tip in the opening round of the SEC men's tournament. Of course, if they win this game tonight, they'll advance through to the late game tomorrow, taking on the 9 seed in Texas A&M. But we're obviously having a conversation this morning about Lamont Paris returning. We talked about Jeremiah Donati's statement a little bit earlier on in the show that was released last night, and Coach Paris did speak to the media last night at practice for the first time since being announced as the returning coach for next year. And one of the things he talked about was it's more than just the resources you're being given. There's a lot of other factors into making next year better than this year or the past 2 years have been.
Well, again, I think all of this isn't about just NIL. I think there are a lot of components to putting a team together. How do pieces fit together? What does a player play? The fashion and style of ball that you would like roles are important. There are a lot of things as we put our team together that we value. If you look at 2 years ago, I think those things came together incredibly well. You had role definition happened upon its own. I think the synergy that group had, and the want to play with one another, the want to win. So those things still are probably the main factors in determining what winning looks like. Again, I don't know at the top what that looks like, but there are limitations. If you don't have what it takes to get into the game, there certainly are limitations, but you still have to make sound decisions in terms of the DNA of what you want your team to look like, the overall roster construction, and how pieces fit together. I still think that is an incredibly important part of roster construction.
And he's right. The NIL is a huge component of just being allowing you the opportunity to open yourself up to more players and potentially bring in higher valued guys that give you a better opportunity. But there is the fit aspect of it too fitting within the offensive scheme, fitting within the culture, and all that kind of stuff is tough when it comes to portal evaluations. And that's something else that Paris talked about last night is, traditionally we hear this from football coaches and baseball coaches and all of them too, that in the traditional high school recruiting realm for so many years, these are relationships you build over the course of 2 to 3 years. You know everything about these guys, so you know exactly what you're getting when they come to your program. Well, as we talk about, the portal's like speed dating, where you have to quickly look at these guys on film. Okay, I like this, and this about his game. Let's talk to them, make an offer, see if they want to come in here. But there's so much about these guys you don't know when they get here, and you can get into a situation where you get to the season and say, wow, maybe all these guys aren't exactly what I was looking for because I know so much more about them having spent the last handful of months with them. Again, 2 years ago, you nailed it. And nobody was accusing Carolina of having $10 million then to spend in NIL, but the pieces you got, the BJ Max, the Talon Coopers, the list goes on, were perfect fits for what Carolina needed, and it results into results on the court. And you're hoping with expanded NIL resources, you can nail those evaluations once again this offseason, Wes.
Yeah, and I think, guys, you have to figure out what you want to be, right? Like, there was a big push last season to get more athletic, right? And that was that was something we talked about a ton. Like, hey, this is going to be a super athletic team. Then, obviously, it didn't work out, and you kind of blew up the roster. Guys, that was probably the best the SEC has ever been. And your record was far off, but you really weren't that far off in a bunch of games. But you still kind of blew the whole thing up, and you said, no, we're going to get back to what we were before. We're going to kind of be this Wisconsin offense, shoot the basketball from outside. Let's get a bunch of shooters. You lost CMB, and I think there was a hope all along the way. Hey, there's this money put to the side. If CMB wants to come back, there's a way to make that work. You don't get him back, and you never really came close to replacing what he brought in terms of your bigs on the roster. So, I think part of this, though, you're going to have to go out and find the right guys who are willing to come in knowing what has happened on the court the last 2 seasons, just to be completely honest. Like, if the money is even and I'm going, well, this team won this past year, this team didn't, what advantage if I'm South Carolina, can I create to land that player against a team that maybe was much better? But I do think an example of why the money does matter goes back. I don't necessarily have specific ones for this past offseason, but the season before, because this was kind of played out in the public space. Chris, remember JP Pegues, the Furman point guard, who very early on it was like, hey, this is South Carolina. South Carolina lost Michi, lost Talon, obviously, to eligibility, and it was, well, there's their perfect replacement, a guy who's played in-state, big-time portal player, was like a top 15 portal point guard, and he gets frankly gets big money from Auburn, and he doesn't ever even play. So people who are really following this thing back then will remember, well, South Carolina misses on him, and all of a sudden you start hearing, well, who are they going to get now? And this kid, Jameer Brickus, popped up, and he was a transfer from LaSalle, and it was, well, that's who South Carolina is going to get for that role, and they sort of get outbid on him as well. Then you hear, well, Dakota LaFew is the kid who they're about to get to fill that role. And guess what? He goes to Tyler's Georgia Bulldogs instead, and South Carolina misses on him. So now you're not only replacing Talon Cooper, you're not only replacing Michi Johnson, but you're really not getting one of your main guys who you wanted to come in and play those roles. And you had to kind of, and it's no offense, it's not hating on anybody, but you kind of had to step down on your board, and you get a guy who I thought was fun to watch in Jamari Thomas, but didn't really fit that facilitator role in terms of what you had with Talon Cooper. And so I think that's an example of how, like, yes, there's a lot more that goes into it, but if you're at the table with the right guy, and who's to say JP Pegues even was, he didn't do anything at Auburn, but if you're at the table with the right guy, do you have what you need to get the job done to then land that player? But you've got to evaluate, and you got to get to the table with the right guys as well. That's a huge part of it. Yeah, Pegues only ended up playing in 15 games, started to average less than 10 minutes, average 1.4 points a game. It's strange, right? So, I mean, you're right. It is still recruiting. It's not just, hey, we got money now. Like, yeah, a lot of people got money.
have had more success in the past. And I think something else that stood out, guys, about what Lamont said is he was asked yesterday, like, where did y'all fall short this year? How do you address that? And so that goes back to what we were talking about. What are you going to address internally in conjunction with the athletic department and Jeremiah Donati and those conversations to get these things better? And the obvious thing is Lamont and the rest of the staff and everybody thought that this team was built to shoot better. And for whatever reason, they didn't. That was obviously huge. The thing that really stands out to me, though, he mentioned the overall competitive spirit on a nightly basis. Like, that's a concern, right? And it might go back to what you talked about, Tyler. You haven't coached these guys. You can talk to people, right? But you don't know them for a 2 or 3 year process. And so with the speed dating aspect, that may be tough to get a handle on. But, you know, Lamont's really good team here that finished second in the league. Bunch of really competitive guys that, yes, they were skilled, but they gelled. They played together. They could play within the system. That's what you've got to get back to in some form or fashion.
Yeah, it's going to be a very important offseason. Again, they got at least one more game coming up tonight. If they win tonight, they'll play tomorrow against Texas A&M, and we'll react to that coming up tomorrow. Baseball was also in action last night. Not a fun night out on the coast there in Charleston. We'll hit that coming up next to wrap up the hour. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on The Game.
Wow, what a play! The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
This hour of in-show listening on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by QC Kinetics in West Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today at qckinetics.com.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
The New York Jets trading for Geno Smith to play quarterback this year screws the New York Jets. And the reason why, I think Geno might be too good for the Jets to get a top pick in next year's draft. And I know that the Raiders have the first pick in the draft this year, and Geno was their quarterback. The Jets are going to be way better than the Raiders were last year. The Jets roster isn't that bad. My fear for the Jets is they go 6-11 or 7-10 this year. I'm Nick Costos.
Oh, hello. It's me, the calculator that lives inside of TaxSlayer. I love numbers. Like 100, as in 100%, as in TaxSlayer's 100% accuracy, guaranteed. And 0, as in $0, as in it costs $0 to file and get the refund you deserve with TaxSlayer Simply Free, if you qualify. Simply Free is available to a limited number of taxpayers with age, income, credit, and deduction restrictions. See TaxSlayer.com for eligibility requirements. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Wendy's has a new Girl Scout Thin Mints Frosty Fusion with Girl Scout Thin Mints cookie pieces, rich, creamy Frosty, and a mint chocolate cookie sauce. Which means Girl Scout Thin Mints and Wendy's Frosty, yeah, they're basically best friends now. It's like two delicious desserts just high-fived, snapped a few too many friendship selfies, and then rode a tandem bike down a never-ending road of mint chocolate Frosty perfection. So, swing by Wendy's and try the new Thin Mints Frosty Fusion.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Snapshot from Progressive wasn't created for just anybody. Oh no, we made it for you. Gradual breakers. You keep your eyes on the road, so you've seen it all. As long as it all happened directly in front of you, like a Swedish masseuse, your foot knows exactly the right amount of pressure to apply to the brake. That's why your passengers feel totally relaxed with you behind the wheel and occasionally super sleepy. With Snapshot, safe drivers like you get personalized rates based on your driving habits. Sign up today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
Wendy's has a new Girl Scout Thin Mints Frosty Fusion with Girl Scout Thin Mints cookie pieces, rich, creamy Frosty, and a mint chocolate cookie sauce. Which means Girl Scout Thin Mints and Wendy's Frosty, yeah, they're basically best friends now. It's like two delicious desserts just high-fived, snapped a few too many friendship selfies, and then rode a tandem bike down a never-ending road of mint chocolate Frosty perfection. So, swing by Wendy's and try the new Thin Mints Frosty Fusion.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast!
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system,
she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark wrapping up the hour here on your Wednesday on the Game. We'll get into some Gamecock baseball coming up in just a moment, but tomorrow from 10 until 11 will be the Garnet Trust Hour presented by our friends over at Krantz Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing, and we've been excited to tell you here lately about the plumbing aspect of their business that they recently added.
Yeah, I mean, those guys over at Krantz have been helping Midlands families, residents, business owners since 1983, of course, with all their HVAC needs, as we've told you so often, but now adding the same great service with plumbing. So if you're a homeowner, if you're a business owner, got some plumbing issues, whether it's new installations, leaks, any problems, anything you need to get squared away, make sure you hit up Krantz Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing. That's KrantzCooling.com, K-R-A-N-T-Z, cooling with a K, KrantzCooling.com, or give Justin, the general manager there, and their team a call, 803-672-3224. Wes, we trust them to come out to our home, so you should trust them to come out to yours, too. They do an awesome job.
Absolutely, and appreciate them supporting the Garnet Trust Hour, as always, which is coming up tomorrow from 10 until 11. Last night, guys, baseball playing the Citadel out in Charleston. If I told you going into the game that Carolina was going to give 10 free passes, they were going to commit 4 errors and only have 4 hits, you probably could have predicted what was going to happen. 8-3 loss. Again, ends your 5-game winning streak. Next game or next series coming up is Florida. Not a good vibe last night, for sure.
Well, and then you watch Florida get a big win over at FSU. Of course, Florida had struggles in the High Point series, but other than that game, they came in really good, and very talented teams. So you kind of had, we had talked about this. You had some good vibes after winning 5 straight games. Again, not in the we're hanging a banner type of vibe, but hey, we've taken care of business. After losing some games that you feel like you shouldn't have lost, you kind of had taken care of the business that you needed to take care of. But you looked at that Citadel game and said, hey, can you polish off a 6-game winning streak with a weekend series against Princeton and some other midweek games? And they weren't able to get it done. And you're right, Tyler. I mean, early in the game, we did see Alex Philpott for the first time. We saw a couple homers from the Citadel early that ended up being integral in the game. But the thing that's tough is the free passes, right? You obviously didn't hit very well because you didn't manufacture enough runs, but that many free passes, they did use a lot of pitchers. That was concerning, and it was a different look than what you're going to see on a typical weekend series. I think you can recognize that, but not a good night at the ballpark for sure.
Yeah, guys, talk about all the momentum we talked about just 24 hours ago. We talked about 5 wins in a row. Could you make it 6? Could you go get a nice little in-state road win? Keep this thing moving forward into SEC play. And, hopefully the team does not think this way. That's one thing Paul Mainieri talked about after the game. But I felt like for the fans, they were like, all right, here we go again. This is back to being the team that we kind of felt like we've seen for the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. And, they had played, I would say, pretty good ball, not perfect ball, but pretty good ball throughout the course of those 5 games leading up to this one. This one, you're behind early, you're trying to battle back. Then you get, you kind of just let it get away from you there at the end, but just not a clean game, man. Like you're playing the Citadel, and this is no offense to them, man, but you got to make them hit the ball. And I know they left the yard a couple times early, but still, you have got to make them earn what they get. I can get nibbling. I can get pitching on the outside corners a little bit against just an absolute loaded opponent, right? Still don't need to do it, but you kind of understand it. But, man, a midweek game, you got to go out there and make them earn it and not have all these free passes. Like, you just are not going to win games if you're not making your routine plays in the field and you're walking and hitting guys 10 times. Like, it's just not going to happen. You, on your side, they made you hit the ball and you didn't. You know what I'm saying? They forced you to earn it and you didn't. I mean, you got guys diving into first base, which is like a cardinal sin, I feel like. You got veteran guys diving into first base. Just not a good day at the park, clearly.
The errors are what really concern me, and I checked, and they're leading the SEC in errors so far in this young season, only 18 games in, again, 4 of them coming up last night, and that's something that we've seen in the past couple of years with this team that's reared its ugly head, and again, at some point, you just that kind of becomes what you are. I don't know how much this gets cleaned up, especially as you get into conference play over these next couple games, and I feel like that could be a real big area of concern, especially against a team like Florida this weekend, Wes.
Yeah, guys, I was going to say, doesn't it feel like when you get into tight games, stuff like that is like how many games do you look at, and we're seeing it a little bit, on the softball side as well. Like, how many times do you get into games where you look back and you say, man, South Carolina was right there. They could have won that game. Maybe lost by a run, lost by 2 runs. You can always pinpoint mistake here, mistake there. That those unforced errors, unforced miscues are the difference when you're playing good competition between winning and losing. And it's, you point to it and you're like, well, they're right there. But ultimately, if that becomes who you are, like you're talking about, Tyler, then it will continue to hurt you in big games and games against good competition. So they got to find a way to clean that up, man. And some of that, I don't know, like there's so much mixing and matching with the rosters, with the lineups, with the orders. I don't know. I've always thought guys perform a little bit better when they kind of just know where they're going to be in the order, know where they're going to be on the field, and can kind of lock into that routine.
And I think that's I was thinking about you yesterday, Wes, because you have been on that train, and I agree. Actually, I don't know how much, if any, we see that approach change. I mean, now to be fair, Manerius said, "Hey, guys will settle in," and he kind of made it seem like there'll be a little bit more structure going forward. But he was also very upfront in, hey, if guys aren't performing, not going to leave them in there. Maybe guys need a break. If guys are starting to play well, you got to keep them in there. But there has been a lot of shifting. How much has that affected things? I think that's very fair. But just a tough day. And I think what people are having a hard time with is you don't look at it as just an outlier, as one tough day. We've seen several of those so far this season.
Well, better buckle up going on the road to Gainesville this weekend to start SEC play, and that's not going to be easy by any means. We'll get in that matchup a little bit more as the week goes along. But that'll do it for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Halftime show with Scott Hamilton coming up on your Wednesday here on The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com. Get ready to shamrock your St. Patty's Day with festivities at O'Hara's Public House in Lexington. Join them Saturday, March 14th for an all-day party under the Big Top, starting at noon with Brandon Mullis. As the sun sets, local favorites Prettier Than Matt and Tokyo Joe will take the stage for a special joint set from 6 to 10 that you absolutely don't want to miss. But the celebration doesn't stop there. Return on St. Patrick's Day, Tuesday, March 17th for Columbia's most authentic Irish experience. Enjoy another all-day event of delicious food, lively fun, and fantastic music featuring the Cash Money Experience. Don't miss out on the ultimate St. Patty's Day parties at Columbia's only Irish pub, O'Hara's Public House in Lexington. For more details on all the Shamrock Festival events, visit o'harasph.com. Cheers to a full day of Irish charm. integrated media. The Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
We know what it's like when you're injured. You hurt, you can't work, you can't pay your bills, and the insurance company won't return your calls. I'm Jason Reynolds. At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we're here for you when things go bad. We're local, resourceful, and have a proven record of success.
I'm Stephen Samuels. Our team is big enough to handle any case and small enough to care about each one.
We get South Carolina because